week. Not even lying, George.
Yeah, I like it though. I really enjoy stupid names.
Exactly why we can't be a professional podcasting channel, man. Because you're just calling your stream podcasting.
No, I just called it Poddin. I didn't even call it podcasting. It's just called Poddin. Poddin. Oh, god damn it. I am live as well. What's up, losers? Welcome to the podcast.
We're not reading a proper intro, have we? Have you been on the drink, George?
No, I'm just lethargic, you know. It's nice to speak to someone.
Well, can we do a proper... well, if you would have played, earlier when I was
Bro,
reading,
I was out. I went to the shops at 6:30, got back at 7. Yes, I was punched in the face. I was knocked out. I need to hide my stream so it's not using all my CPU. Put it in performance mode.
I'm almost ready to start, guys. So yeah, let's do a proper intro, George. So,
welcome to the podcast, losers. Is that to your standards?
George, we're like the biggest bunch of losers here.
Yes, sir. What tags did you do? Did you just write? I'm gonna write podcast.
Alienate the whole audience, man.
Games. God damn it, you mother trucker.
Hello, everyone who's here. Yeah, I think he might be. He might be. Yeah. Everyone like the stream. Hey Rocky. Hey Alfie. Hey Caleb. Hey Mr. Playstop. We're not going to talk much of chat because obviously me and George. This is going to be a professional.
Why have you made me wide? I've just realised how wide you've made me, you son of a gun.
I'm just going through again.
Hi, Caleb. What do you mean? Listen. My trailer's great, Caleb. My title's great. Sorry, my trailer. God damn it. It's great.
This is going to be a professional podcast from the rest of this stream, man. I was just saying to George, we're not trying to be those podcasting channels because we always seem to just like do our research like I have before, and
yeah. Well, whose fault's that? It's almost like you told me yesterday what the theme was.
That was 2 days ago, George.
That was yesterday.
It was 2 days ago.
It was I have the chat logs. I can go back and tell
today,
you.
Guys, we're going to be talking about iconic moments in gaming history. I think George has been on the drink.
Welcome to the podcast, baby.
I've never seen George this like hyped up. He's normally like a zombie. So I don't know. Is that Rockstar, man?
Yes, it is. It's the Blueberry Rockstar. It hits hard.
You've not built up a tolerance like me, George. I've got a tolerance to Monster Man. You see me
80% of no. The reason you've got a tolerance isn't because of anything good. Your blood to liquid ratio is 80% Monster. So
how many likes we got, boys?
Who knows? I can't find my notes. There we go.
Yeah, I'm not
we good, lads. We good.
Anyone wants to look at it.
I'm in need to open your chat so I can see if people are bad-mouthing me.
The problem is I have to have this pop-up window open. I don't like that.
Why don't you do what I do? Have, like, dual screen it, if you can. Because I've got the big TV with half of it being my chat, half of it your chat, and then the bottom is my stream, and then you can cover it as long as it's open, you know.
No.
Okay. I'm gonna just copy your title and send it over.
How about now? Is that working? Why are you overstretched past the border, man? That's
because you've stretched me, you absolute loser.
Okay, now you've frozen apparently, George.
That's
good. I think that looks good.
This man. Who knew this podcast was episode 7, 8? Can you believe it's been 7 weeks running?
7, and I feel like they're getting worse.
We tried so much harder at the beginning.
To be honest, I think this is the most I've tried, but still.
I tried very hard at the beginning.
George, you're frozen. Oh, I don't care. Just leave George's face like that because at least it won't go grey. And it's, it's the perfect sort of facial expression for the whole thing. It looks kind of shocked.
It looks like you've just taken a picture. You've taken a screenshot of me, you absolute son of a gun.
Thank you very much. I try my best.
I don't know why that's happened either. Like, that's your fault. That ain't me.
Podcast, George.
That ain't me, Chief. That's your internet connection, not mine. Anyway.
Hang on. Why is there a big George in my background? That is the problem. Where's
I'm
that
just
come from?
vibing in the background.
Where's that come from, man?
And no, Caleb, you are not an iconic moment. Imagine bragging about being more prepared this stream, and it is the worst we've ever done.
You're just making it worse, Jordan. I might have to restart the bloody stream. Imagine people re-watching this podcast at work or whatever, thinking, what the bloody hell are they talking about? Coming here for gaming moments. And all I've got is a bunch of rubbish.
Gaming moments, okay?
Is he fixed? No, he's not.
No, I'm the one. No, the image isn't working, but the video of me behind the Atari is working.
Oh, he's back. Yes, boys.
We got it.
George is moving. My day's going good, thank you. But we're gonna get into the podcast now.
Epic gaming moment in history.
The first 6 minutes and 50 seconds of this podcast has been pure
garbage.
Cut
this out in edit. Edit. We'll just cut this out in the edit. It's fine. It's fine.
Welcome to the Shedcast. Got an editor, George.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody.
You do all my editing.
Alfie, I am not. I'm not.
Let's start. Yeah, he does seem a bit odd. I think it's the right
I'm
start.
hyper, man. I'm hyper.
I'm going to crack open a fresh monster before we do get going.
Yes, it is essential to keep your tolerance levels up. You've got to be 80% monster at every point of the day, otherwise you will just go into a sugar crash.
Exactly. That's how I
stay alive. Yes. Okay. So the layout for this one is we're going to pick a game each, or we picked 3 games each, and 3 consoles. And we're going to tell you a little bit about why the games are...
I got a feeling George has just gone for like a knockoff, a knockoff PSP or something. I'm talking about it from China with like 60 games on.
Listen, okay.
That's an unusual gaming console, George. That is not what I meant.
Listen.
Listen.
I have not gone for those. I've gone for ones that are like precursors, alright? Trust.
I'll turn up your sound, George, because literally all I heard with them was trust. I just ran the thing back down again. Let's start the podcast off now, George. This has been 8 minutes of messing around. I know we need to stretch them out to get to 2 hours, but this is getting ridiculous now. Okay.
Welcome to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Today we'll be talking about gaming moments.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody.
Did you move that closer to your mouth?
That's my mic. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Got a bit of a dry mouth there.
Okay, so podcast.
So today we're going to be talking about iconic moments in gaming history.
Mm-hmm.
Me and George love talking about games, so this is going to be a good one. I hope so, anyway.
Yes, I put effort
we've done about 3 minutes of research on each one.
Listen, I did a little bit more than 3 minutes this time.
No, I've done longer than that. That was a joke, guys. But it's going to be fun because, we both got a lot of energy for some reason. It's 10 o'clock at night, but me and George don't wake up till like 7 p.m, so we're all good.
Don't out us like this.
Let's get started anyway, because I'm just going to keep rambling on pure rubbish.
Yes. Welcome to the podcast.
Believe it or not, guys, the budget has been up for this one. As you can see, we now have images on the screen I can interact with.
What happened is we've actually gone to game and we've taken these pictures.
Research, is it? It's called Retro Tech.
So what we're gonna do for this podcast, we've got a history of games, or in particular like 3 games that are what we are calling.
Start with the consoles, George.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying what the running order is, not particularly in this order. So we're going to start with the consoles, 3 consoles, why they are iconic, why they are important parts of history that should not be forgotten. Same with 3 games each. And then I've got some gaming news. So.
I think I'll start, George.
Hell yeah, go for it.
I'm with the Atari. So yeah, I picked the Atari, guys. So a lot of you are a lot younger and you don't know what the Atari is, but your parents probably have one of these, or maybe your grandparents.
It wouldn't be that long ago.
It was released in 1977 in North America. It was $199, and that's what it looked like on the screen right there, as you can see. For some reason, it's got a wood effect on there. It looks kind of like someone just like built, like, started building the table and then just built a gaming console around it. Or it
The reason why they put the wood effect on there was it made it broke up the plastic, right?
Yeah,
like the
and
pure
to be honest,
plastic look wouldn't look
in
great.
most houses, because they all had like wooden look tables, didn't they?
And
To be
wouldn't
honest,
look like walls and stuff. Yeah,
it's pretty cool, but it doesn't really look like a gaming console, does it? When you look at it.
no.
Well, let's read some stuff out of my book anyway.
Here's the book reading.
If the Fairchild VS, hold on. If the Fairchild VS introduced many significant features, I feel like I'm reading a bedtime story.
Hang on, wait. Before you talk, let me talk about the Fairchild, because that is the one that I've gone for.
No.
So.
No, George, because I'm finishing this off now. I'm halfway through, man. You'll have to go backwards. Let me just read it. So game cartridges were offered distinctly different games, each thanks to the 128 colours with their own aesthetic to maximise the appeal of this new variety. You know, for me, it changed video games, because before this, video games existed in the arcade, as it said in the book. You know, this was probably the first console that your parents, your grandparents would have been exposed to. And, you know, you had a joystick, you plugged it into the TV, it changed everything. You could play video games from the comfort of your own home. People hadn't really had that before on, like, a very, you know, on this kind of level where it's, like, very professional. I know when you look at that now, you think, oh, what a piece of junk. But back then, in 1977 to the mid-80s, that was a beast of a system. And to be honest, if you got one of these now, you're looking at good money. If you got one of those in the box, you'll probably pay a couple of grand. So don't knock it, guys. So before the system,
am I back, by the way? My connection dropped temporarily.
Yeah, before the system, people had to buy different consoles for each games. So this also allowed people to play different games on the one console rather than having to buy like 10 consoles. So like now, it's kind of gone the opposite way, because now consoles do that anyway. Like they push for exclusivity, don't they?
Exclusivity, yes, but they don't just do that. They have multiple games.
Console wars.
The way you're talking about it, like, for God's sake. Professional gamers. The reason why it's such a big thing that the cartridges came along was because you did have to have specific boxes with each thing. Mm-hmm. So you could buy Pac-Man games, which were the console and the game Pac-Man. You could buy Tetris, which was just...
Yeah, I'm getting on to that, George.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, so, you know, the console wars have kind of come to an end now with PlayStation, Xbox. But back in the day, you would just have to buy 10 different consoles just to play a different game. So this, all in one system, it made it more accessible.
I think they were cheap, though, the single use ones.
And then you had games like Pong. I mean, there were so many variations of Pong. So you just used to follow this, like, single line across the screen. Yeah, trying to hit the ball. I've actually played this. I don't know what I played it on there. I think it was...
There was a History of Gaming thing. I think either we went to or I'd been to...
I think it was on the PS3, maybe?
Oh, wait, you mean like a remake of it? Yeah.
A remake, yeah. I've played it somewhere. I know I have. Or maybe not the PS3, but like a... I don't know, like a knockoff gaming system. I don't know.
It could have been an arcade, to be honest.
Yeah, it was like one of those, like, you know, those little TV arcade box things, and they put like the old games on there. It was like that. It's quite fun to play, actually, and you do get these kind of games on like most mobile phones and things like that, and like Game Boys, and they get ported over. Space Invaders. Oh, now name a more iconic game than Space Invaders. You know, and that's where it got popular. You know, in the arcade machines and on this.
So I've got a fact about that I haven't written down. This is one that I know off my head. All of the things in that game are supposed to be the same speed. But every time you take off a layer of things, it frees up data, so it slowly speeds up. They are all supposed to be the same speed in the original.
The thing is, back then, people play arcade machines for like 50 hours, you know, just to beat like Space Invaders. It would be like, it would go on forever. But like, I don't know how they can be that quick, man, because they do get pretty quick after a while.
Yeah, well, the thing, like, so it was that, and it was Space Invaders, and it was Galactica. I think those were the big games back in the day that had huge tournaments, like to get the highest scores. I wonder if the
Space Invaders crisps were influenced by the Space Invaders game.
I think so, yeah.
Interesting. That's not a fact, guys. We don't know that that's true.
That one's might not be true, but
honest, most of the stuff me and George say, I'd probably say 40% of it's garbage.
But there are grains of truth in everything that we say.
What is it, George? Every time I put a disclaimer in, you always take a drink, man.
Every time we disclaim, take a drink.
It looks sick, so professional. Right, so you see that system on the screen? In today's money, that would be the equivalent to a MacBook Pro.
I know, it's insane.
Then what would you rather have? That or a MacBook Pro?
Well, I think... Well, the thing is, at the time, that was the MacBook Pro of the thing, right? So now you'd want the MacBook Pro, but back then, that was...
because you didn't have all this technology.
Exactly, that was the forefront.
That was the first, I think one of the first in-game home systems.
Well, that's the thing. It's not. The Fairchild was.
But to be honest, no one ever thinks of the Fairchild.
The reason for that, I've literally written it down. So the reason, like...
George, we're not going to talk about that yet. You can get onto that after I finish my section.
This boy, he won't let me talk about the Fairchild.
I don't want them to merge together.
Okay.
I want to get through them one by one.
All right.
So we're going to be talking about money for a lot of this because, it's nice to see like how much consoles made and all that stuff. And it's always interesting to know.
Yeah.
So in 5 years, the company made $28 million. And in 10 years, it made $1 billion. Interesting.
Which is insane.
A lot of money back then. You're talking 1977.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that was pre-inflation and stuff as well, yeah.
A lot of money. Back then. Now, I got another cool fact here. So, I don't think this ever got released, but they were the first gaming system to actually release an exercise device for a system. It's called the Puffer. So, the TV was connected up to a bike, and they stated that there's a whole generation of kids that are not into sports. We have seen kids get addicted to video games. We are going to hook up an exercise bike to a video game where the bike is a controller. I think that's an example of how it would look on the screen.
That's really cool, considering that didn't really happen again until the Nintendo Wii and the Xbox Connect.
Exactly. The Nintendo Wii was the next time this happened. So for a whole 30 years, they didn't even touch upon that concept again. And look how successful the Wii was.
Well, the reason why the Wii was successful was because it did appeal to a new generation. Compared to this, where it was the same generation, but a bike, I think the Wii appealed to a lot of older people,
I think the
a lot
problem
of
with
parents.
that as well is you got to fit the bike in the living room, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's going to get clunky. It's going to get in the way. The Wii, it's just so simplistic. It works.
And the biggest thing you can get on that was the Wii Fit board, right? That was the chunkiest bit of kit you could get.
Like a lot of the things I've been looking at when I've been doing my research is video game first, and this was a first for video games.
Yes, that's what I've done first.
In 1980s, and then thinking about hooking up a bike to the system. Yeah, I don't think it ever happened. I think it was a prototype, but still, that is really cool to know. I think. So. Did you know that Atari had a competitor secretly owned by themselves?
I mean, that's genius, isn't it? I love that.
And it was named Key Games. And they had a competitor just to compete with themselves in the market.
So the thing is, that would give them the pure monopoly, which is something that cannot happen now because of, fair trade deal... not fair trade.
Well, obviously, if PlayStation created another console, then, everyone would have to know about it,
Well, yeah, because it'll be nowadays. It's against trading laws to secretly own something to go against yourself because that pits yourself up against yourself, which does not create an indicative market for newcomers.
It's not this has anything to do with what you're saying, but we're actually getting into a load of facts now, and it's looking very professional. But I feel like we've just cut off our entire audience at the start of the podcast.
Not only that, but Like we sound professional, and then you look at my stream, which has got the Memphis pattern in the background, and it's just me and you chatting pure garbage.
Mine looks professional because I've uploaded
Hi,
that.
Abby.
I mean, I've got the images. I've got all the facts written down.
So right, look, I have a book of notes.
But it's kind of ruined by our shenanigans at the start. I mean, we've got to be more prepared.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Okay, so another fact. I got a lot of facts. I love the facts.
He loves the facts.
Still
he do love the facts, though.
But people do watch them, because I do get a lot of extra viewers after it goes up.
Yeah, they slowly tick through.
But I don't know whether they're, skip through or what. But if they're... Our intro was 7 minutes.
Our intro was just me and you chatting.
I'm going to carry on now anyway. We're going to get past that. But I'll mention it. It just come in my head. I was just thinking, Jesus, we've just alienated the whole audience at the start of the podcast. But, so Atari, actually, they contracted a company known as Microsoft. I don't know if you've heard of it.
It's a small company, small startup.
Well, it was then.
Yeah, it was
then. Not now. They taught basic programming language to the Atari 800. 1 year later, the software had yet to be completed, and Atari and Alan, I think it's Alan Marker. I can't read my own writing, but a guy called Alan took over. Basically.
Alan.
So technically, Atari was the only company to have fired Bill Gates, and that's it. I don't think I can. I think I've plateaued now with the facts because I don't think we can. That's like a brilliant fact now. I don't think I can debate.
Yeah, that's it. That's the highest fact.
Oh, George,
is it my turn to talk about the Fairchild?
Yes.
So it was. This was a year before the Atari. They were the forefront of technology. No one talks about it because the Atari was such a big seller. It went. The Atari sold for cheaper, and this thing.
Why was it called the Fairchild?
Fairchild Channel F. Is what it was called.
I'll call it the Fair Trade.
Fair Trade. So, from what I could tell, this is the first console to allow for cartridges. As you said earlier, that was a big thing for technology. To be able to change what you want to play was huge. I have not gone as in depth as you have. I didn't realise we were going full deep dive.
I just like 20 minutes on each one.
You said 10, you little goblin. What are you chatting? You said 10 minutes.
I don't think it was that in depth. I think I just took my time because I feel like we rushed through things.
Oh yeah, undoubtedly. So it does. So the Fairchild does not look as good as the Atari.
You know what? I think my camera angle, and I'm interrupting you, but I think my camera today is actually looking pretty fire. I think it makes me look a lot slimmer than usual. I don't know what it is.
It's probably because half the camera's pointing at your door behind you. You saved off your weight by not pointing half the camera at you. It's only half of you that's showing.
Oh, I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks a lot like CRISPR as well.
This is why the podcast is not professional, because my mind will just go, oh, the camera's looking good. Let's talk about that. Carry on, George.
Honestly, all I've got is stuff that you've already said about the Atari. To be honest, it was... Previously, all things were pre-installed, and it was the first thing to push for separate games to be sold, which created a market for games creators. Whereas before, it was big companies that could put it straight onto technology.
The Atari, it was all on one console.
Yeah,
that was the first console to do that. So
no. This was the first one. This was a year before, and.
Sure.
Absolutely, I fully made double check my facts on this. This was a year before the Atari, and it did the stuff the thing you're talking about. It even mentions it in the Atari, how it's like the Fairchild was the precursor to this.
It says the Atari revised.
Yeah,
the features.
Yeah, so it used the Fairchild as a base.
It solidified those features into something more fad, something more popular, something more.
Yeah, absolutely. But that would not have existed without the Fairchild, which I think pushed, even though the Atari outsold it, it wouldn't have existed without it, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Is that all you got, George?
That's all I've got, because I didn't realise you'd say the goddamn Atari and use all of my information.
Well,
Let me go next. Let me go next.
Oh, you want to any left?
Yeah, I've
got to do it one by one.
Well, no, I've got 3. So I've got.
No, George, I'm going to go next because I've got 3 and they're all as in depth. So I want to give you some time to talk about them in a bit.
No, because if what happens is, in my head, what's going to happen now is you're going to be like, oh, this one. And I'm going to be the one that's the precursor to it. And my dumbass is going to look dumb.
It's not going to happen, George.
No, I know. Sure, go for it. What's your next one?
It's my turn now. Okay. So it's a Nintendo 64. I don't think that's George's.
I didn't go for it. I figured you'd do it, but I did not go for it. I was lucky.
I know this is one of George's favourite consoles, so...
I loved it, Nintendo 64.
Oh, man. Gotta stop doing this with George. Let me just get my facts. I'm like an old man, like getting the glasses out. Like I have to figure out where I'm at. What happens when you get old? Saying that at 23. Look, George has got one to show you, even though I already have a picture up there. You gotta one up me, George. We've got to get all the PS2 games out again.
Ignore the
Nintendo
dust.
Was released in 1996, and it had 32 million copies sold by 2009. Not bad. It was the first ever console to feature 3D games and an analog stick. That's what makes this console like iconic. Because without that, you wouldn't have games like we do today. You wouldn't have Fortnite. You wouldn't have Call of Duty. You know, you wouldn't have all this that we have today. You just have 2D games.
Before you go on to that, I just want to talk about, even later in development of the 64, they talk about having 2 analog sticks. So, in particular games. Yeah, so
analog stick changes the game, because if you play the PS1, it's so rigid. I mean, that has analog sticks, but like you used to use the PS1.
The precursor was that the one before that was just the one without the analog sticks. It was just the up, down, left, right, and the buttons. It didn't have the.
I've played like Sega and stuff, like the original Segas and the Mega Drives and that, and they don't have analog.
They don't need it though, because they're side scrollers. It's not until you get into 3D motion when you need an analog stick.
Exactly, but they didn't know that until this console, obviously.
No, absolutely. Like so, in GoldenEye, there is a control scheme where you use 2 controllers, so that you can have left and you can strafe. Sorry, and you have to hold one controller in each hand and move with one.
Because the issue with having the one analog was actually, say we're playing games like Mario Party, it required players to use the analog stick with the palm of their hand, and it resulted in blisters.
Yeah, because they're not comfortable controllers to hold. There's no padding on the top.
The controller is iconic, but it's so freaking weird in my eyes. Seeing the controllers of today, it is weird. It does give you more grip, but like...
It doesn't. It doesn't. Hold on.
It looks like it would give you more grip. But then what's that like whole middle section for? Like pointing out like there's no need for it. It does look different.
So,
you have a PS1 and the controller has no analog sticks. I think it does.
No, the first PS1 does not have analog sticks.
I must have the re-release of it or something.
These are solid plastic with no cushion.
I can see my PS1 controller down there and it has analogs.
Yeah, yours will be the second generation PS1 then. So the way that I hold it is like this.
I'll imagine this has got just demonstrating Nintendo 64 stuff.
Well, the reason that this is important was because when you were playing such games where you required 2 controllers, you'd have to hold it like this. And
many years.
This is the exact shape of a nunchuck that they used in the Nintendo Wii.
I mean, this was one of my brother's main consoles growing up. My brother's 30 something. This is what our brother used to play on. Now, my main consoles would have been obviously all the PlayStations.
Yeah, but these controllers hurt like hell to hold. So it's solid plastic, whereas with PlayStations you've now got a little bit of padding with the rubber, right?
Yeah.
This is just.
I think that's why the PS1 did so well, because Nintendo was supposed to work with PlayStation to make a new console, wasn't they?
Yes.
But Nintendo wouldn't pay them enough, I think, and they just went somewhere else. And PS1 ended up just making PlayStation and Sony just ended up making their own console. And it's the controller makes all the difference. That's what made that take off more. That's what made it all the range, the controller, because that like the PlayStation controllers for me have always been the most comfortable.
They are the most comfortable. So in the previous generation of this, you wouldn't have this.
Yeah, like
so it would cut
even
like
though
this.
That's nothing compared to like a PS5 controller, like it's still a lot. You've got a lot more space. You got a lot more control.
You don't have the weird donger in the middle either. The donger in the middle really like messes with.
Don't be doing that hand motion on the podcast, man. Also, the Nintendo 64 was one of the first consoles to actually release consoles in different colours. So you had like an orange one, you had a blue one, you had all different colours.
They did a limited edition Pokemon one, which was cool as heck.
Yeah, like PS2 and consoles that followed, they also did this. You know, the Game Boys. So they kind of followed suit. Nowadays, like with the new PlayStations, we have different designs, but they mainly stick to the two main colours of black and white.
Black and white, really. And maybe sometimes they run a blue or red.
Yeah.
They've got market research.
Donkey Kong 64 on the
Woo! Console. What a game!
Iconic, brilliant game. I can still play that today. The thing is, like Mario and Donkey
Mario
Kong
64 Mario 64 was an incredible game. That was the first 3D game created.
The reason I'm talking about Donkey Kong 64 in relation to that console, to the 64, you know, is because it holds the record for the most hours played on the console.
Yeah.
Not sure what the record is, but it's a lot. So, the final N64 cartridge was actually made in 2002. Oh, I didn't know this because I would have thought it would have been
the life cycle of that was quite long compared to the PlayStation.
When I think of the N64, I actually think of like 70s and 80s. I don't know why.
But even though it was 97, right?
And the last cartridge that was made was 2002. But I think of it as a console that was made 8. I don't know what it is.
It's because in your mind you've got it pre-PlayStation, and PlayStation was 2000.
Like when I was born, obviously, I was born in 97. So when I was like, you know, like growing up, that obviously looked like a relic, and I didn't know much about gaming then. So I was just all about the PlayStation 1.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But yeah, so the final cartridge was actually Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
What a classic game!
On the 64. The last major console to use cartridges as well. So we've talked about the first
because
and we've came full circle to the last one.
They even the 64 had an attachment
data on cartridges, and
as
soon as digital disc was released, that's when it switched over to that because the amount of data you can use on those is so much better.
Yeah,
you know?
They were in the process of creating a CD drive.
PS1, wasn't there? PS1 and Xbox, they utilised them. I think PS1 was first, not 100%.
I have news, good sir.
They used the black disc, didn't they? What was it called?
It was just a CD. No, it wasn't anything special. It was just a CD. But so you're wrong with what you said about the PlayStation. It wasn't the first console to use a CD player.
Dreamcast.
No, even before that. Are we finished with the 64, or can I put a little bit of 64 information in?
I'm not finished yet.
Oh, God damn it! So before you go on, let me just throw this at you. In development, they were trying to create a Nintendo 64 data drive or disk drive, which was an attachment that goes on the bottom of a 64 that allowed you to play CD games. They never made it because the life cycle of the game ended before, but it was one of the only games to add an expansion pre-GameCube. Like, GameCube was the one that I remember had, like, TVs attached and stuff. Like, they really went for a modular system on the GameCube.
Okay, so let me finish then.
Alright, I'm going to go wait while you're talking.
This is not professional at all.
It is, mate. It's not my fault I need to pee, is it? God damn it.
Okay, so they had games like Mario, and they had really strict quality control standards for the game. So the games actually look like a professional standard. I know it doesn't look like it on screen because you're thinking, oh, the graphics are crap, but for that time, for 1996, the games were actually pretty high spec. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got. So hopefully George hurries up while he pees. We want a full black PS5. Surely that's got to come. I mean, why'd they release the white ones first? I've got a white PS4 Pro, and this PS4 Pro gets dirty so easy, man. Like, I prefer the black consoles because you can't see the dust and the grime. But, you know, they develop over time. How's everyone doing in the chat then? He's on 96 hours, man. We've had some cool people in here. We've had Rocky in here. Special guest Rocky. I wonder if he's still watching. Probably at work, to be honest.
Your resident relic is here. Hello, good sir.
Finally, George.
Professional peer. We should add regularly scheduled pee breaks in this podcast.
No, George, you should just go for a pee before we start. Like that.
Bro, I did, alright? Like half an hour before. Right. Are we done with 64s?
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm gonna blow your goddamn mind.
And another 3 pages. No, I'm joking, George. Just kidding.
I'm gonna blow your mind. 1991. There is a games console. Well, it's not even called a games console. It's called Entertainment System. It was the Philips CDI.
I've seen this in my... I scrolled past that. I'm not showing that.
The reason why, it was the first console to utilize CDs. This was before PlayStation. And because it was marketed as an entertainment system, it didn't sell as well as the PlayStation. It undersold, did terribly.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the only non-Nintendo produced console to have Nintendo produced games on it. Which is crazy. Like, Nintendo are so careful about their intellectual properties now. They wouldn't allow it again. They had games like Hotel Mario, which, no joke, looks like a fan-made game. It looked like... it looks so bad. But...
Did they sue the company for it?
Hmm?
Did they sue the company for it?
No. Nintendo signed an agreement to let them use it.
Oh.
So it did. They had like a game called Link: The Face of Evil, and they all look terrible. Awful game quality, but if they'd have marketed their system better as a games console rather than a entertainment system, that could have outsold the PlayStation.
Yeah, but wasn't they all called entertainment systems back then?
Yeah, but not after the 64. The only things that were called entertainment systems were the NESs, and that was because the term games console hadn't really been coined then. So, after the SNES and the NES...
SNES.
The SNES. But I call it the SNES. The NES and the SNES... it all changed to games consoles or game systems or game blah blah blah. But they had shown their age by calling it the entertainment system rather than a console or games device. Games device? No one's ever called anything a games device. What am I chatting? Game system. Yeah, that's what I have on that. That was 1991.
How long was that, guys? Like 2 minutes. I'm stretching the podcast.
Leave me alone!
2 minute slots.
You told me 10 minutes, and that was 10 minutes.
That was not 10 minutes.
I have more information about games than I do about consoles, to be honest.
I'm excited for this one because this one's close to my heart, man. I'm looking at
PlayStation?
PS2.
Ah!
You know, I had to do, a newer console, but I didn't want to go PS5, PS4, PS3 because
they're not really shaping. They're not shaping gaming history at the minute. They are just repetitions on previous.
Well, the thing is, the PS2, for one thing, it's got so many features that make it iconic, but it is the biggest selling console in gaming history. You know that, don't you?
Yes.
200 million copies. 200 million PS2 sold.
Actually, that's not a lot compared to some of the information that I've got about.
I've got that confused with another fact for later, but 1.5 billion PS2s were sold.
I was going to say, that didn't sound right.
And there were 3,874 titles on the PS2. Now imagine that today. If you think about it, each PS4 game, whatever, takes like 6 months to make. There's probably like 500 or something in a span of like 2-3 years.
It would have been longer than that in them days. 64 games took upwards of 2 years. So,
and it had nearly 4,000 titles.
PS1 would have also been around the same time frame. So I think PS2 maybe a year and a half per game.
And the reason this game console is like close to my heart is because like this was the first console I had brand new. The first one I opened like on my birthday or Christmas as a kid. Like, I just remember getting the box, just being so happy with it. And look at its look. Like, I know that's a chunky one, but obviously they released the slim ones, and it just has a completely different, sleeker, smoother look to all the consoles before it. Like that, the look of that is
compared
so
to
much
this,
and then 64.
Well, I mean, this has got the aeroplane wing look where it goes. Whoop.
GameCube is kind of iconic though because it's a cube.
Absolutely, yeah.
But like that just looks so sleek. It's so modern, and with the black finish, it was beautiful, man. And obviously
it looked sci-fi back in the day. It looked sci-fi.
At first, I've always said this, but the PS2 games were always the most fun to play. As I remember them, like I've been going back now and playing them, and they are a pain in the ass.
It's nostalgia, mate. You're being lied to by nostalgia.
But in my head, I just remember these being. That's my head, not that. I just remember these games being so fun to play. Obviously, it wasn't like it did have online play, and that's another thing. On the first consoles to have online play, but it was more focused on the story and enjoying the game, and it had all these side quests and missions and things like that. It was just fun and made you want to play the game. And you could also save your data as well, which you could do on the PS1. But
yeah, but it wasn't integrated data, right? The good thing about PS2 was that it was modular data, and then you could switch and you can plug and play different storage cards, which was insane.
And I think also it's because like most of the games from the PS2 era were based on movies. Which I know that's a terrible thing today. Like, it doesn't always work. Like, and you don't see as many games, based on movies. It's more the other way around. It's more movies based on games.
I've got some examples on that later, but yes.
But that was really fun as well, especially as a kid. Like, you go and watch Incredibles. Next thing you know, there's a game there. You want to get it. You want to play it. Spend like 40 hours on the game.
It would be the same time. Like, they'd make contracts and stuff to release them basically either a week before or the same time, so that you would get that like immediate hit of satisfaction of playing it again.
I mean, the experience, everything about it really, the graphics, the controller. The controller was like, it was so nice to feel and, to experience. I mean, now it's terrible because obviously.
Well, you don't have the rumble, right? On the PS2, there was no rumble.
Yeah, exactly. But
this is a PS2 controller.
Felt really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one in my cabinet, but obviously we used to a different kind of gaming experience. But back then, like, that was the shit. George, will you start picking stuff up, man?
Bro, it's show and tell. I'm showing you the PlayStation controller.
You're such a teacher, man. You just got all these props.
The modular storage thing.
And look at the analog stick. If we zoom in, you can see it. That's
the thing with the modular storage, like.
I feel like this is my part of the podcast.
It is, but I would like to talk about modular storage. For stuff like... I know the 64 also had it, but there was a set amount of data you could store on stuff. The 64 had an extra 4 gig of storage, depending on which attachment you put in. But for there to be 8 gigs on a thing which could hold, like... That was like 20 games at the time, right? So to have that,
as well, though, Simpsons Hit and Run, man. Can you think of a more iconic game than that?
Yes, I can. I will later.
He's probably going to come up with Simpsons Wrestling.
Is that a thing? That best be a thing.
Believe it or not, George, the PS2 wasn't actually discontinued until 2013. There were still making games.
It blew my mind that I was as I was looking at PlayStation 3 games. The same game being released at PS2 at the same time. That's
was like 20.
Kind of right.
I always think of the PS3 coming out in 2005, but it didn't. It was 2008, wasn't it? I think this was like 2003, 2002. I don't know, around that time.
PlayStation 1 was 2000.
I think that was 90. I think, George.
Yeah, 99 to like 2005 or 6.
That's why I got this book for. Might as well use it.
Yeah, you've got the facts right there. I will fill time with modular storage talk.
Oh, March 4th, 2000.
What, 2 or 1?
2. Backwards compatibility as well.
Yeah, that was a huge thing at the time. People were so worried about having to buy completely new copies of their game when that first released.
Yeah.
I mean, they still are now. They even still, like, I'm worried about having to repurchase the games that I have on PlayStation 4 for PlayStation 5 whenever I get it.
Jordan, you just borrow all the games off me anyway. So
what do you mean?
But yeah, the PS2 sold 1.5 billion copies. Last game was produced in 2013. It was FIFA 13. You can play FIFA 13 on the PS2.
FIFA games, disgusting, man. I hate FIFA games apart from the one on the Wii.
Yeah. Also, it had an iconic startup screen. Now, when you turn them on and you see this logo,
do you know what that means?
Do you know that these squares
represent
how many games are on the PS2 and the memory card, and how long they were played for, which I didn't know. So many people have different squares when they load up the console, which I had no idea. So you go around your mate's house, you'd be like, why does he have 42 squares and I have 3? And that's because he's played a lot more games and completed a lot more games. He's probably better at gaming than you.
You're a loser.
Oh. The PS2, it also had Netflix. Yeah,
really?
You could plug in a disc and it'd give you a Netflix. You're allowed to set up Netflix on the PlayStation 2. Because obviously it had online as well. But Netflix wasn't really a big company back then, but you could use it.
No, because Netflix at the time was like you'd get a physical CD, wouldn't you?
Subscription, yeah. But it was also online like it is now, so it was a bit of both, I think.
I didn't think it was ever online until recently. That must be like my brain playing tricks on me. Unless I'm thinking that maybe like Love Film or something was a thing at the time. And you'd get CDs. Basically, blockbusters.
There was like competing, but I used to love Film. I used to order games, play them, and then send them back like after a week. Well, I think they went out of business after a while. I think
because people would just keep the game,
and they wouldn't do anything.
Yeah,
it's like sometimes I can't find DVDs of certain things because they're so rare. People will be listing them on eBay with Love Film on them. Sometimes you have to buy them because it's the only way possible to get the film.
Yeah.
Right. It's the best selling console in history. I've said that.
Multiple times.
Play online.
Multiple times.
I think it was the first time you can play online. And I've said it multiple times, George, but I'm just reading off my notes.
I think it actually was. Yeah, it was the first you could play online.
That's how iconic it is. I've had to write these things down twice.
You got to say them 3 times for them to be true.
You also play DVDs on it. So it's multi-purpose in every sense of the word.
So the PlayStation 1 could play music discs, but it couldn't play film. Like, I remember using it as a CD player for about 2 years because I didn't have a CD player at the time.
The way the PlayStations work and the things they can do is so odd because, you can play PS1 games on the PS2. And on the PS3, you can only play PS1 games.
Depending on which PlayStation you have, right? PlayStation Fat, you can do...
PlayStation 4, I don't think you can play any of them on, but you can play Blu-rays. And PS3, you can play Blu-rays. But yeah, it's good because it's multi-purpose. I don't think the Xbox lets you play DVDs, but I could be wrong.
I think it probably does. I think that because it reads CDs, right? The Xbox, so it would
maybe,
read
but I don't think
DVDs.
As good. I think PS2 had better sounds, but it's just another feature to add to the arsenal. It also had Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
A classic. And
that sold 17 million copies. That's a lot of copies, boy.
That's a lot of copies.
That's a lot of copies.
You maybe just punched some monster.
That's what I thought was funny at that moment. But that's it, man. You can move on.
Here's mine. The Atari Lynx. Imagine, if you will, the look of a PlayStation Portable, PSP. I forgot what it was called in my head for a second. Like that sort of like long, sleek design. But in the year 1999, and with a full color backlit display.
Alfie's gone mad for GTA. The thing is, like, we should have done like a whole history of like every console. So we've just picked, like, randomly picked from different console generations and be like, oh, that's a good console. Let's talk about that, man. That seems interesting.
Well,
and then we just
the ones that I've got are the very first things. So this came out the year of the Game Boy, like the first Game Boy, right?
Well, some of mine are the first things as well.
Yeah, but like, listen, this thing had a full color screen as well as backlit display 10 years before the Game Boy Color came out. This thing, the same year as a Game Boy, like the chunky big grey one.
Basically, like if we invented a console and it was as good as a PlayStation, and then it just never got recognised because
No. The reason why it never got recognised is it had a much smaller game library than the Game Boy. Because the Game Boy was Nintendo, they had access to other Nintendo games.
That's the thing with gaming, isn't it? Like, that's another thing. Like, these days, it's so important to have a really good arsenal of good games.
Even if they're not exclusives, but being able to get the licensing for them is what pushes sales. Even that is so
important, because if you've got Pong and another console's got Mario, you just ain't going to compete, mate.
No, well,
and it's the same like when Sonic came into the market.
It's like really annoying because this thing was more high tech than the Game Boy by 10 years, which is incredible. Like, this was 1999 when most people didn't even know backlit color displays were a thing that were possible.
When you pulled that face, you said, "This is incredible!
This is incredible!" But it is. It really is. It like. Game Boy didn't even like the most things that Game Boy had at the time was the Game Boy printer and the Game Boy camera, which were also really cool things, but they looked garbage.
Not necessarily the more games the better outfit. The better quality games, the more fun games.
Yes, absolutely. Depending on what you can license is absolutely like the best thing. I actually have one more that I forgot about on here. So that's me done with the.
Is that the whole facts for that whole system? What system is this called again, George?
The Atari Lynx.
The Atari Lynx.
And it looks.
I've seen that actually in the book, and I thought it said the Atari Lynx.
Yeah, I know. I misread it at first as well. But I've also gone for like my last one because I forgot that I'd done 3 and I've done 4. This is a garbage console. This is a garbage console. This one. This is the Nintendo Virtual Boy in 1995.
I knew he was going to bring this up, George.
Thing hurts.
You never shut up about this. This was the first VR, wasn't it?
It was the first VR. It was heavy. It hurt your eyes. It didn't have a colour display. Or it did have a colour display.
That's the thing. Some consoles are way before their time and they just don't take off. And then 20 years later, someone's like, what's that thing that was invented 20 years ago that didn't work?
Yeah, that's well, the thing is, they didn't sell many copies because they were struggling to market it as virtual reality, not because it didn't work.
Name anything virtual, and then agenda, as well.
Well, it was because it's
Game Boy works, but when you call something a virtual boy.
No, the reason why it's called a virtual boy is because it's got the same components as a Game Boy, just built into this chunky ass headset. But like, it hurt your neck, it hurt your hands to hold it. And it had 22 games in the library because no one bought it because they couldn't market it correctly. Because they had no idea how to market something
I had
virtual.
something that looked like it was not VR, but like a Move controller for the PS1.
The weird wand thing, right?
It looked really weird. It looked like when you had it plugged in, you just looked like you had loads of wires coming out of your arms.
Oh, no. Oh, you mean the glove for the power glove for the NES. That thing is incredible. I love that so much.
I don't think it was the power glove. It was something for a PS1, I think, but it was just really weird.
Well, let's just take a hot second to talk about the power glove. That thing sucked. It is the worst controller they've ever made, but it looks cool.
You know what it is? It's the movie, The Wizard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because he wears the power glove and,
and he's like beeping away on his sleeve, and that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. But it was terrible, like, controlling.
The coolest thing you've ever seen at 5 years old. No,
exactly. No, dude, I would kill for a a Power Glove, man. That thing is cool as heck. Imagine that with a HTC Vive or whatever. You've got your headset on and you've got a goddamn glove that did all the controls for you. That is cool still. I hate everything you ever stood for if you don't think that is cool.
Yeah, but you'll be like bloody Scarlet Witch going, dude.
Exactly, and you're telling me that isn't the coolest thing you've ever imagined? Being able to do magical shit with your hands and it actually do stuff. But back to the Virtual Boy after that small interlude of absolute garbage.
George loved doing magical shit with his hands.
So they couldn't market it correctly because they had no idea how to describe virtual reality at the time. Not even just that, like their tagline was, "You have to experience it for yourself."
One wants to when George starts speaking in case I fall asleep.
That cannot be a decent tagline. It had 22 games, and the only colour it was in, black and red. You'd get blaring red light directly into your eyeballs about this far away.
What did you say their marketing slogan was? The marketing.
You have to play it to understand it. It was something garbage like that.
You have to see it to believe it.
No, it wasn't see it to believe it, but like
it's a similar kind of slogan, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the thing is, the see it to believe it thing works because, like, at least you can see it. But this is a brand new technology that hurt your eyes to look at, hurt your neck to wear, because it's like this, and it's got like a long pole down the middle that you have to like counterbalance every second. So yeah, they had games like Mario Tennis, and they hurt to look at.
Is that you done now, George?
That's me done. That was 1995.
Iconic games.
I put a lot more effort into this than I did.
You know what we should have done? We should have talked about gaming slogans when you start up game. To the game.
They don't do that anymore, do they? That stopped in like PlayStation 2.
I used to love that every time I load it up.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
I always think it says the game. It's like a, what's the saying? What's the thing called? Something you think happened but didn't. The Kennedy effect or something. The Nelson Mandela effect.
What the hell are you on about?
When you think something was something else.
Are you okay, mate? Are you having some sort of meltdown? Is your brain not working because I was talking too much about a Virtual Boy?
I'm going to find out what it's called, George.
Okay, you do that while I talk about GoldenEye.
No.
Oh.
I'm starting on the game, George.
But you started last time. EA Sports. It's in the game. So that's how you know you're playing a retro game, when it does the EA Sports logo in full. I don't think so, Alfie. I don't think he means the Thatcher effect.
Yeah, it's a Mandela effect, George, where you remember something slightly different. So I remember EA Sports.
Cheers, Ghost!
Wait, you remember it as EA Sports. It's in the game. That is the Nelson Mandela effect.
It is in the game. That is the game.
I've just had a Mandela effect to the Mandela effect because I called it the Kennedy effect.
You called it the Nelson Mandela effect. You fully added on a whole thing.
Well, you said you all right, as if it didn't exist. Like I could be spitting straight facts, so you still be like,
"You're right, hon. You're right, hon. You're right."
So iconic game. Iconic game.
Iconic. You frozen on my screen, but I think that might just be my computer for you. Oh, there you're back. Hello.
So,
right, cool.
I'm starting off with a very iconic game. And it is... Can you guess what I'm going to...
If it isn't GoldenEye, if it's GoldenEye, I'll kick you in the goddamn knees.
It is Go Indiana Jones. Well, it's not. It was called Raiders of the Lost Ark. But it was basically the first ever... video game inspired by a movie. This is what spawned it all. This is what spawned
E.T. That is the game that made E.T. happen.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and E.T. didn't really work out. It got buried in dumps and stuff. I hope George's going to talk about that one.
I'm not. I didn't because I figured you were going to. Well, but we can talk about it a little bit.
But yeah, so Raiders of the Lost Ark was apparently the first ever video game that was inspired by a movie.
Branded, right? It was a Lucas.
PS2. That spawned all the PS2 movie games and all the other movie games. You know, all the Bond games. Just the Bond games were successful. And George is going to get onto that next. So this actually really works. Like, how does this work so well, George? I've started with the first ever.
So I think the reason why
and then you're next talking about Bond, a video game inspired by a movie.
Well, the only reason they got the licensing for that was because it was LucasArts, right? Who made the game? They specifically made the game rather than it being an out licensed.
Yeah, because I think Lucas went to him LucasArts, and they went and said like, we want a game made, and we'll give you like. I think they gave him like 3 months or something to make it. That's why it looks like That's why it looks like that. But that's what all games look like then. But it was pure garbage, I think.
In fairness, that is not bad.
It's actually a popular game, to be fair. But then, obviously, as you say, it spawned games like E.T., which I think we made
that bad. That looks like a decent platformer, which is what all games were until like GoldenEye kind of thing.
It's trash compared to today, but then to that standard.
I mean, even then, that's pretty good against like Donkey Kong standards, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite cool. I like
it. Right, so it was invented in 1982. Monsters repeating on me. And it was on the Atari 2600. You know, I think I actually seen this online. You know, I was going to buy it just to have it in the cabinet. So it's pretty cool. It actually required the person to play with 2 controllers, apparently.
That's not the only game that did that. That's not the only game that did that. So there were anti-piracy methods in some games.
That's all I've got on that game.
There were anti-piracy...
What we said earlier, the first video game inspired by a movie. Like,
can I speak about anti-piracy things? So there are certain games that have anti-piracy things where you need to unplug from one port and put into another, or play with 2 controllers, or stuff like that. Unless you had the because back then games was...
But Alfie, we're talking about 1982, mate. You won't be able to make that score then. It's like Photoshop. If you go back to the 80s,
Photoshop looked awful in the 80s.
Producing... Huh?
Photoshop existed in the 80s. It was just terrible.
Yeah, but it was industrial software. Like, if you was creating images like you do now in Photoshop, you'd be like a world-class photographer, mate. Or a world-class artist. You know, you'd be working on big-budget films. Because back then, they didn't have technology like we have now. Like, even if they had Photoshop, it was in its very basic form. They didn't have computers that could generate a game like this in, like, you build that in ICT.
You could build that in goddamn Flash or something. Like, that could be a Flash game.
Back then, it was a completely different world. That's kind of what we're getting at, Alfie.
These are the precursors to every single game you play.
Game cool, though, because you get done for copyright, mate.
Well, the thing is, like, I'm going to go back to anti-piracy real quick, because it's really interesting. Back in 80s, 70s, there were games that most of the information was in the game's manual. So it would, if you were to pirate a game, it would...
I've seen this on a TV show, but they used to have, like, whole offices of people that used to phone up for video game support. You'd be like, I'm stuck on level 4.
Yeah, no, that's mind-blowing to us now, right? Because we've got internet.
That would be my dream job, man.
People used to make millions selling walkthroughs, selling page by page in magazines. You'd buy magazines for cheat codes.
Back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. That was so cool.
I've seen it on that Netflix documentary about games, and they're really good to watch. You should definitely watch them. But like, they would sit in an office and play games all day, and someone would ring them up. They'd have all these things written down. They just play games, and they'd ring them up. They'd be like, "I'm still on level 82. I need some help. What do I do?" And he'd be like, "Press X, jump over the barrel. You know, kill the donkey. Swivel to the right as a secret door." And then you basically pay by the minute.
So the thing is, like, we watched Ready Player One. I don't know if we watched it together, but we've both seen it, right?
Mm-hmm.
How in one of the games they talk about Easter eggs and it being the first game to have Easter eggs.
Ever do that movie? Like, that has so many, like, copyrighted things from so many franchises. I mean,
Spielberg. It's Spielberg. Most of the stuff is owned by Spielberg.
Oh.
So you've got Jurassic Park, you've got E.T., you've got all this. The Iron Giant, I think, is also a Spielberg film.
There is still licenses outside of that
Oh yeah, but they're easy to get hold of. I think like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was quite an easy licensing. Once you've got so many things,
Even in the
pulling
book,
more
like,
things in.
how did that guy get away with it in the book?
Because it wasn't
Did he reference them? He must have referenced them.
either they were referenced or they weren't directly like
It's on YouTube.
ripped.
Mhm.
So that's cool. But as I was saying, like when piracy was rife in the gaming industry, there'd be most of the information would be in a book, so that you'd have.
You say when it was rife, George. It's still rife now, but it's not the video game companies that get done for it.
No,
It's
exactly.
mainly it's me and you who are playing the game, and then a song will play in the background. Next thing you know, our stream, because now stream is a thing, will get taken down. Or we'll
That's
get
not
charged.
piracy. That's not piracy. That's copyright infringement.
Copyright
Yeah.
is a bit different, but they're kind of a similar thing, basically.
So there were ways to like do it, like a game
You'll
that
get
was
using someone else's thing.
yeah. So like back when PC games were on floppy disks and stuff, you could just copy the floppy disk over and just photocopy the thing, and that would be a free game to someone. Now it's a lot harder because it's still not really difficult, but it is harder because you can take the BIOS and the data from it and stuff. But you'd have to run it on certain software. You could just plug and play floppy disks from one computer to another and it would work. So they had stuff like you'd need a certain thing or a code that was in the game on the case of the game, or they're like, from what I remember watching, because I was watching something about it the other day, there's like a little viewfinder that came with one game, and you'd put it on the screen and it would tell you what the code was because it would decode it.
You know what I find
on
interesting?
The screen.
It has nothing to do with games, but I keep seeing these things going around now in like supermarkets and stuff, where you just literally get a card with like 10 movies on. Like you might get like a Vin Diesel card, and then you just go home and like scan it, the QR code, and then you got all them movies. Like that's such a different way to do it.
Yeah, well, you got to imagine with QR codes as well. Like, unless they have to be activated, which I assume they do because that's like game gift cards and stuff, right? They have to be activated, otherwise they could be stolen.
It saves on plastic.
Well, yeah. If they're not having to print, if everything's digital now, the only thing that's going to be an issue is the carbon footprint of
DVDs,
the servers.
Like, that is a pretty good business idea, to be honest.
Yeah, because if it's all cloud storage,
things digitally anyway. So, and you
Anyway.
still physically buying something. You're buying the card.
yes, absolutely. Back to games. GoldenEye, baby.
Can I just say, George, I feel like 45 minutes of the podcast have been me talking about stuff, and you've done about 15 minutes worth.
Listen, when it comes to GoldenEye, I
3
don't
hours
mess
on-
about.
Hang on, is it my turn now?
You've just spoken, you goblin! You
It's 'cause you
leaders of the lost
You know
ark!
what it is? It's because you're throwing the anti-piracy laws. I was supposed to go, I know one thing, you know one thing.
Well, the reason why I threw that in was because I was just watching the Modern Rogue last night, and they were doing anti-piracy stuff.
George is going to be like, oh, we just talk about the display stands.
GoldenEye. GoldenEye. 007, GoldenEye, Nintendo 64. This game.
How does the GoldenEye theme tune go, George?
The man with the golden gun.
That's clearly not it. Just gotta...
How's it go?
GoldenEye.
That's Spider-Man, man.
They crumble. I like
GoldenEye does whatever. No, I can't remember, man. And it's such a good song.
You spent like 5,000 hours on the game.
No, because it doesn't have the... It has music from Bond films, but I don't think it has the GoldenEye soundtrack.
I'm going to search it up.
Makes someone want to play it out loud, though. Play it real quiet in the ear.
Yeah, it was. Called GoldenEye.
Yeah, it's called GoldenEye, but I just don't know how it goes.
See the reflections on the water more than darkness and
Oh, yeah.
that song, George.
I do.
Like most Bond films, like when I think of Skyfall, I always think of Skyfall and they crumble.
As well as the new one with Billie Eilish, right?
Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish, yeah. Big eyelashes.
No. Time to die.
Or one of them had the white stripes, or Jack White and Alicia Keys. One of them.
The Sam Smith one was terrible. It's like the writings on the wall.
The thing was that worked well with the feel of the film, though. Like as a standalone song, not great, but with the this isn't a film. Come on, we're talking about games.
Composer or like musician to the theme song, man, to Bond. It always has to be like someone really, up there. I think that's why the Bond films are so well, because you have like
Shirley
massive
Bassey, Garbage did one, Chris someone did one,
and then you had Paul
Adele.
McCartney. Tina Turner did one. She did. I'm thinking of somebody else.
I think you're thinking of whoever I just said a second ago. Shirley Bassey. Shirley Bassey did.
I'm pretty sure Tina
Diamonds
Turner
Are
did.
Forever.
She did the one with Paul McCartney.
I don't remember, man. Anyway, games. This is a game stream. We're talking about video games. I'm talking about GoldenEye.
Yeah, see? We're talking about GoldenEye, see?
So.
What was that, George?
Shut up, I don't know, man. I'm having a moment. I'm I'm reminiscing about GoldenEye and how it's a really great game. It was.
Someone get George some help, please.
Someone get me out. This man needs some milk. He needs some milk. It was the first game I played.
Ever game?
Yeah, it was the first game. No, it was the first game my family played together. Like previously, we'd done like I'd been playing like Legend of Zelda in a different room, and they'd be watching TV.
They did, didn't they? They remastered the PS3 version.
Yeah, but it was garbage. They completely remade it and ruined the controls and all that. But that's neither here nor there, because that is not 007 on the 64.
Mm-hmm.
So, every now and again, we will still go back and play this game.
So heavily in this podcast.
Hmm?
It was the N64 ended up being featured so heavily in this podcast.
It's such a good console. And it's right in our age range as well.
I should know this. I should have researched it. But why was it called the N64?
It had 64 bits of RAM or something. I can't remember. It's something technical. So every now and again, we will still like play GoldenEye or The World Is Not Enough on it because they are such good games.
Call something at 64. Like on the screen, you got Atari 2600. Like now, I start from like 1 to 5. Then I'll go that.
The Xbox just like jumped to.
I don't know what the phones are doing there because it's gone from Samsung S10 to S20. So it just doesn't make sense.
They doesn't making it up. So this game was released in 1997, our birth year, on the 25th of August. This game is the same age I am. And it is aged like a fine wine while I have aged like milk. I have turned to cheese. Yeah, I know. It's aged like a fine wine and we've aged like cheese. Like milk.
I wouldn't say it's aged like a fine wine.
It's still a great game. You haven't played it, have you?
Like sour milk, to be honest.
You haven't played it, have you?
No.
No, it's incredible. It is the precursor. It's a precursor to every single shooter.
I think it's The World Is Not Enough is the one I played, and
I really like The World Is Not Enough.
Playing that 2-player with the mini helicopters and the mini cars and stuff. That was way before Black Ops and the R60s and stuff.
So that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist on the 64. The World Is Not Enough on the 64 is.
It doesn't even make sense. Because really, the game shouldn't have a tiny little helicopter that could blow you up with massive rockets, but it just works so well.
So on the 64, it doesn't have that. You have like rocket launchers or whatever, like you would on regular, on any of a like 64 game, because the data was limited and the file size had to be quite small, and the colors used like a lot of RAM. However, it was developed by Rare, the company that made
Vicarious Games. So you just had developed. That's what I heard.
Oh, okay. So it was developed by Rare.
Gregarious Studio.
Gregarious. We've watched Ready Player One too many times.
Oh man, why did I put Crash Bandicoot as one of my games?
So Rare did Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong and Star Fox. They were known for platforming games. And this was the first game they developed in 3D by a completely amateur design team. They've either only worked in 2D or they were brand new to the gaming industry, full stop. There was quite a small team. So the game follows you playing as 007 as we attempt...
It's weird how many people used to make games. Like, you'd have a team of, like 10 people.
Yeah, and really small, right? Now it's hundreds and thousands.
It's like 100,000 people or something. It's mental. If you think about it, everything in the game is, it's created digitally. So there's no physical objects. So people have to obviously create it.
Yeah. I want to talk about that a little bit in the gaming news a little bit later. I've got some information about some shady shit.
That's you saying you're tired and not you saying you're bored. No, because you don't need to watch, mate. I mean, me and George will happily just talk to ourselves.
Yeah, we're happy chatting pure bollocks, to be honest. So you play as James Bond as you try to save the world yet again. Like in every James Bond film.
Players Bond.
James Bond.
Yet again.
So because it was a brand new design team...
Shaken, not stirred.
This man, I'm going to kill him in real life. If he ever winds up dead, I best not be interrogated because it wasn't me. When you end up murdered in 2 years' time, and I'm like, oh god, why did I say that online? So because it was a new team, there was no hype about this game. It was like low expectations from the get-go. It became the third best-selling game on 64. What are you doing, you weirdo? The only games that were higher selling than it were Super Mario 64, incredible game, and Mario Kart. Now, this game had the creator, or the lead director of Nintendo, they wanted to make an edit at the end where you all shook hands with the villains. Why? Because obviously you have because it's Miyamoto in it. No, I know. But the thing was, this is Nintendo. This was the first time they'd done like a game like this. I know, I have that in my head like 24/7.
And that's on. Isn't that in GoldenEye at the start? The doodle, and then it slowly to it. A respectable podcast will sit there humming Bond tunes.
I mean, you've clearly not seen Cold Ones, man. So this pinnacle of gaming history, right? It was originally intended as a side-scroller for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It was supposed to be a side-scroller where you were like on, like, do you know how in games there's like called a rail system where it moves you at a set speed and you've got to shoot like stuff? That's what it was originally intended as. But they then decided to go for the 3D element after watching Super Nintendo do so well. No, that's not right. After watching Super Mario do so well in like a 3D space. So they had to completely redesign how the game was going to work in like, I think it was made in 2 years, which is like insane. It was the second game they'd ever done in 3D space.
What year was the Die Hard game made?
I've got no idea. I didn't even know there was a Die Hard game, to be honest.
A good game.
So this game, right? It pioneered
this game.
First-person shooters in a console setting, right? Because you'd play like Time Crisis or whatever at the arcade, but having a first-person shooter in your house, this was the first time that had happened, and it had pushed forward. Space Invaders is not first-person, is it? It's third-person, if that, I think.
Yeah, essentially.
So it paved the way for future FPSs. Like, you wouldn't have COD without this game. because that's how influential it was at the time. It is frequently, and I say this, frequently cited as one of the best video games of all time. It is. It's incredible. So it grossed... You've not heard it? In most polls, it is in the top 10. Like, IGN, PC Gamer, all the stuff.
It's about Call of Duty.
Well, no, because this is a James Bond. This is the segment I'm talking about, good sir. Don't interrupt me.
Is this your James Bond villain impressions?
No, this is my Charles Dance impression, who is the...
We're talking about Bond.
Leave me to my lotions and my potions. And fuck
Every
off.
time I think about Bond, like the older Bonds, I just think of Alan Partridge. And he's like, we've got GoldenEye. And then he starts acting them all out because the video's been taped over. And he's like, and he shoots her. He starts like rolling across the floor and stuff. Have you seen that?
No. I think I've seen the bit where he's rolling across the floor, but I haven't seen...
Partridge.
Much.
Because he's got a box of Bond videos and someone's taped over his favourite Bond. No, so he's explained the whole thing. I could just imagine you doing that at a dinner party. Like, bloody hell, my dad's already taped over bloody GoldenEye. So you just start
GoldenEye on VHS. Where I like how it always goes... That was my favourite thing about VHS, is how it, like, when you paused it, it would still be moving. So the game cost $2 million to make.
The VHS, put it back in, it would still be at the same place. But you'd have to rewind it every time you bloody wanted to watch it again.
I know, that was class though. I like the rewind.
Imagine that.
Is what it would sound like if it went backwards.
It's just videos. I'd never watch a film today because I couldn't be asked. I mean, how lazy I am today. I would not be bothered like rewinding the film.
No, I know. I'd watch it once and then just leave it. It was produced for $2 million.
You know, Blockbuster had a big problem with that because people used to hand in the games that hadn't been rewinded back. I think you froze again, George.
I'm going to kill you. Stop interrupting me with your garbage! So, it was produced for $2 million. And it got a gross income of 250 million back. Which was huge because the film only sold... What are you doing? Look what you've done to me, you forehead. Stop this.
Around, George.
Oh my god. What are you doing to me, you little goblin? Don't zoom in my teeth. I don't even like my teeth. Like, the film only grossed 350 million. I think.
Thanks, Cam.
Even though the cost of the film was way more. Anyway. It got 4 awards from the Academy of Interactive Arts. And it got a BAFTA in 1998. My facts for this game are... It was originally intended as a side-scroller. The team was comprised of amateurs. There were supposed to be 4 James Bonds in the game. But at the last minute, they had to pull 3 of them. What have you done? Let me see if I can do this right. Hang on. Hello. They couldn't get the licensing for Sean Connery. Sean Connery wouldn't give them permission to use his likeness. So he got axed from the game. They had a 1v1v1v1 first to 100, and whoever won was the character that got added in, and it was played by the devs. What are you doing, you absolute weirdo?
I'm just listening to you talk about GoldenEye, George.
Most of the game is in black and white, just with certain parts painted in colour, because that was the easiest way to save space.
You stop getting distracted.
Oh, I wonder why I'm getting distracted. It sounds like somebody's messing with my goddamn face. All of the NPCs are rare employees that got scanned into the game. There are 5. One of them is the lead director and the rest are all just randos. The multiplayer mode, which it is like most famous for, was created in a month by one guy. But he didn't tell the game developers he was doing it. He just did it on his own and just at the last minute put it in the game. And because the game was already like a month overdue, Nintendo just went, and just let it go in the game. And they then pushed the game with a multiplayer made by one man. This was the only game, the only James Bond game made by Rare. But that wasn't because the James Bond the franchise hated it. Even Nintendo liked the game. They even wanted to push for more, but Rare were like, "No, we've done one. We don't need to do another one." So they only did one James Bond game.
Yeah.
That is my GoldenEye. That is my TED Talk. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
There's been a lot of James Bond games that have followed that, but it's by different companies, yeah.
Yeah, and you can always tell because they're never quite as good as GoldenEye or The World Is Not Enough. Like, those two really pushed the boundary of, like, a licensed game. They did really well as licensed games.
Is that all on GoldenEye now?
That's all on GoldenEye, my guy.
So now, everyone in chat is going to love this. Because you guys have been asking me for so long playing Minecraft. So I thought, we're talking about iconic games, yeah. So it has to be Minecraft. Iconic. I know you're just going to use that as a round. So Minecraft is, it's been on every console ever. It was so different. I mean, if you think about it, when Minecraft was created, it was sort of a backward step. Because you had 3D games, then you've gone back to, like, block form.
It was a step back from...
But it works.
The reason why it was a huge step back was games were pushing for high poly games.
Exactly.
Most of the realistic games they were pushing for were as high as polygons as you can get into one scene, the most detailed background you can get. That's what made games sell, is that it was realistic. And then stepping back to this works.
I think Minecraft has so many good points about it. I mean, it's infinite. You could play Minecraft for the next 100 years and you still be able to, like, do new things in the game. You can build whatever you want. It has so many different modes. I think it's the first game, like, in new gen that actually kept updating itself multiple times. Like, before that, like, games wouldn't really do updates very often, but because Minecraft was updating its game every year, most games were just having, like, a 1-year lifespan, whereas Minecraft, like, all the other game companies were like, hang on, this game's lasting for years. And the company still...
So the reason why was because the game was never officially released as a game, right? It was always in open alpha or open beta until recently.
About how many other, like, indie games have been released like that now. Like, All Guys and all those kind of games. Like, a lot of those started off for beta and all called Fortnite. So Fortnite took Minecraft's blueprint, really.
Well, the thing about Fall Guys, that game's kind of died off because that did feel like a fad. Like, I know that there are still people playing it, and it's still a really, like, fun game.
But think, where would we be without Minecraft and these continuous updates? You wouldn't have an update every week on Fortnite because they won't bother. 5-10 years ago, a game would be updated maybe once a year if you're lucky. God, like Black Ops, I think that was updated once.
Yeah.
Or in fact, it was updated 4 times, but that was just to bring in the DLC,
right? Yeah.
Now COD will be updated every couple of weeks, so.
Which is hella annoying because I have got limited space.
It's like Minecraft is like immersing yourself in a different world. I mean, you got languages, you got thousands of characters. It's like its own little world, and it literally is like, it's based on the real world. And you wouldn't think if you told me 20 years ago, oh, this game, kids mining and digging for dirt and diamonds and stuff, you'd be like, nah.
And it's one of the most popular games of today, right? Because it has such a huge child audience.
I've been playing it like since like 2009, since it came out, and I'm still playing it, and it's going crazy. And a lot of influential YouTubers and stuff started on Minecraft, so it's like even iconic to me. Like it's a really special to me, especially as my YouTube channel was launched from this game. You know, playing this game blew my channel up basically.
I mean, this is the game that really like made us play together, right? It was this doing pixel art after Ark. Like this is what.
But I never wanted to do pixel art. It was just George that wanted to do it. I was never been into that. But
I know, but it was enjoyable, right? It was that pushed us.
Like it's one of the only games in today's generation where I mean Fortnite does it and some other games, but it's like back in the day you had Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, right? And you could create your own maps on
Skate. I don't know if
and
you can create your maps on it.
It'd be endlessly fun. Minecraft does that, but like next level because like people create their own modes, create their own games. You know, pixel art is only a thing because people created it basically.
The reason why it does so well at that is because it was a Java game, right? So Java's a lot easier to mod on PC than most other platforms.
So yeah, I mean it was different. It was new. It took a bold step. It didn't go for the 3D high res, game. It went for let's just make it fun. Let's make it infinite. Let's do as many things as we can. And yeah, let's try something new, and it worked. And did you know, guys, it was actually created in 6 days. The original game was created in 6 days, and then obviously it's been updated multiple times since then, like thousands of times or whatever. But it was actually created in 6 days, which is mental. And then it was obviously later on sold to Microsoft. So cube-like structures. Also, it's a game that can be played across generations. I go on Twitch, I'll see like a granddad who's like 90 playing the game.
You said there isn't very much a famous grandma that plays nothing but GTA and just calls everyone bitches and stuff.
Yeah, it's the same thing, but like
on a much wider scale.
You wouldn't expect it to work with Minecraft, but I think anyone who touches this game like instantly finds something within it and falls in love with it.
Until recently, right? It wasn't actually classed as a game because it didn't technically have an end, which is why the Ender Dragon was added, so that they could be like, aha, game over.
It is infinite. Like you say, it doesn't have an ending. It can go on for 1,000,000 years. You know what I mean? Like, most games do have an end point.
Well, the thing is, they couldn't legally call it a game until it had an end point, I think is why the Ender Dragon is a thing and why the credits roll after that.
Yeah, but no other game would take that bold step and say, look, we're going to make a game where you can go on infinitely. But the thing is, you can't really because you build so much and then your PlayStation will just get fried, which is probably not going to happen to me eventually.
That's not limitations on... That's console limitations. That is not limitations on the software itself or the game itself, to be honest.
That makes Minecraft like such an iconic game is the fact that it's used in education. There's an education edition.
Yeah, I remember playing it in school even...
one of my A-level art projects for sixth form, I actually went up to the teacher and I was like, I see all these maps being built in Minecraft. They said, what do you want to do for your final project? And I was like, I want to play Minecraft, build the world on it.
I want to play Minecraft.
It'll be like 10 years, but I expressed it to him and I was like, it's actually used in education.
Well,
and they was like,
the thing is,
it would take too long. Then
they use it now to do education on electronics, right? On simple logic electronics.
If you think about it, everything in that game's educational, like leather, how you get leather, how you mine, all the different things in it, all have educational elements. Even getting wool from sheep, right? Like, kids know where leather comes from because they play Minecraft. You know what I mean? Like, they learn so much. So
I don't think it was ever intended for the education purposes, but because it did get picked up as an educational thing, like, that has blown it huge on, like, kids, like, wanting to play this game, and parents want their kids to play this game because it is educational.
When you talk about intellectual property, like, this game done so many collabs so early on, like 2009, 2010, like, I was having map packs and skins. Like, this basically is the first iteration of skins in a way, or one of them. And then we're doing everyone, Star Wars, Power Rangers, all sorts of different properties. And then we see that in Fortnite. So again, Fortnite has actually took a lot from Minecraft when you think about it.
Fortnite, I mean, nothing is ever new, right? You always take ideas from somewhere. Even if you don't intend to, you will...
Just Fortnite, because that is a really influential game. I mean, when you think about it, it's done so many things right.
Yeah.
And
it's cherry-picked the best parts of every game, which is
think about it.
Good.
Nowadays, it's the games that you don't expect to blow up, that you don't expect to be big, that actually are the most influential. I mean, Minecraft was never meant to be how big it is today.
No, it was never meant 7 days of work, and then God rested. And then Lord not rested on the 8th day.
And Fortnite as well.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that to blow up like that. But it did, and they've run with it.
Well, the thing was, the BR genre was never a thing until Minecraft, right? Like, Minecraft did Hunger Games, was it? The first iteration of BR? Like, there'd been BR before, but they'd never been big. And it wasn't until Minecraft. And then it went to H1Z1 and then other stuff.
There's even languages and everything in the game. Like, it's so... The world building is so good. Like, they've thought of everything. Like, it's so developed and so thought about. And, like, when you look at it, you think, oh, man, like, it's cartoonish and stuff. But, like, you play it and it's just so fun. You can just express yourself and it's really thought out. Like, everything's well integrated. You know what I mean? And we do see that with a lot of games now, like Skyrim. And I really thought you was going to mention Skyrim. I feel like that might.
I wasn't. The reason why I'm not going to do Skyrim is because that is too big of a thing to talk about in one podcast.
And that's what we need. That's why I decided to talk about Minecraft, because I could talk about this forever. But I am going to keep it short because we decided we was only going to have 10 minutes lots on these. And lastly, I mean, I could go on about this all day, but it is it is the best-selling game of all time. 200 million copies. That's where the 200 million come from earlier.
Yeah.
And really, that's because it's on every console ever made, pretty much. Not really.
Well, yeah, but they've tried their best to keep it running for as long as possible. It's like Skyrim, even. Skyrim has been on PC, Xbox,
but it works.
People
love the game.
PlayStation.
No matter what I do, I will come back to that game. People moan at me and say, like, oh, shit, you're playing a lot of Fortnite. I know for a fact there's going to be a day where I'm going to be back on Minecraft.
Well, yeah, but that is where you started your YouTube career, I'm going to call it.
It's the same with, like, my nephew, my brother, like, everyone I know always ends up back on that game at some point. It's like Ark. It's like you with Ark. Like, I know we're going to go back and play Ark at some point.
But the reason why we're going to go back and play Ark is because we found it enjoyable to play together. It wasn't because the game itself is great. It's because we made it great.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the same thing with Minecraft, even.
In today's generation, the fact that you can get that on your phone, your fridge, and it's the first game that really did that. I mean, a lot of games do that now, like Fortnite and all different games, really. But Minecraft was the first game that just existed on everything. Like, you get it on a smartwatch
because it was owned by Microsoft. It was one of Microsoft's best-selling
and the fact that it was like created primarily in the beginning for PC, I think.
Yeah, Java. It was only for PC.
Exactly. So that's one of the reasons, because obviously PC games and a game like Minecraft can be easily transferred to.
It wasn't easy to do it because Notch did it all in spaghetti code. They had to basically remake the game, I think. Right.
Yeah, well, me. That's
ready?
Minecraft.
Are you ready for the curveball of the century?
Yes, sir.
Wii Sports, baby.
Wii
Sports.
I was going to talk about this, but I thought I've already talked about the first fitness gaming system.
I love Wii Sports
so well. It's like we're in sync. People are going to think we had a conversation. I was like, yeah, George, so I'm going to start talking about the fitness console, and then I'm going to start talking about the first game based on movies. And then you was like, oh, yeah, so I'll bring that up later.
Yeah,
that didn't happen. There was no contact between me and George about the podcast for the last couple of days. Just somewhere.
Until yesterday when he brought it up, like at midnight the day before. So, I'm calling this a curveball because this is not a game I've ever played on the channel or on Twitch or on any sort of streaming thing. But it is a game What are you doing, you absolute goblin?
Focus on your.
How am I supposed to focus on me when I'm just seeing my own mouth? Huge. It looks like an 80s video, man. This is the kind of thing you'd see on Take On Me. It's like, take on me with big mouth. So, this entire game was created to showcase Nintendo's motion tracking software. The entire game was because it is a motion tracking game or software, right? It was the first thing that came with every Nintendo Wii because it was part of the thing. It was the first thing that was advertised. Do you remember the adverts? Because I sure do. And do you...
I just remember, like, everyone who's anyone had a Nintendo Wii.
Not even that, though. Like, do you remember the horror stories that came on, like, afterwards? Where, like, it'd be a short news story where... shock horror. TV destroyed by Wii remote. Because someone hadn't put the wrist strap on and they just let go of it and it pierced their telly because they were swinging it with such vigour.
That wasn't an issue. It's the same with like the PSP. I feel like everything always has a wrist strap.
Yeah.
But it was really the first exercise console component that actually worked. I know we discussed it earlier, but you know, as we say, it hadn't been touched for like 30 years. The idea.
Well, the reason why it worked was because it was such a simple idea, right? It was, you swing the remote, it does a thing. You swing the remote, it does a thing. You attach a nunchuck and you go like this and it does exactly that. Because it is... You could replace, from what I remember reading like absolutely ages ago, you could get rid of the tracking thing and put 2 candles and it would still
I find interesting. Nintendo is still pushing the fitness and, you know, whatever made the Wii popular. Because now with the Switch, you've got the Switch bands, and I've just bought one. That's why I've actually been looking for the exercise stuff.
Well, the reason why is because is it Miyamoto the top honcho at Nintendo?
To be honest, I feel like I want to get a Nintendo Wii just for a laugh, man. Because I'm bowling on that, and like the boxing and everything.
There are some really great games on Nintendo Wii. That the entire console is slept on as a console because it was a.
You know what it is? It's the fact that you're standing up and you're interacting with it. It just. You feel like a normal human while you're playing it. It's the same like VR. Like you stand up with a controller when you're sitting there doing that. Humans not meant to do that.
No, exactly.
But if you're doing interactive stuff, like it feels like you're playing a sport. You know, same with the Move. Like the PlayStation Move, like you're moving your hands in a more natural way. It feels.
The thing was, the Nintendo Wii was pushed as a family system, right? Nintendo have always been a family-based thing.
You know,
they always aim for a family audience. They've always aimed for a young adult audience and parents. Like, oh, you're playing Super Mario. Let me play because I love Super Mario. They run those IPs because they are...
Why is George zoomed in?
Oh,
because George is speaking, so I'm giving him the biggest, you know, platform to talk. Why your lips look so weird, George? Why are they such a weird shape, man?
That's just how my lips are. Also, the camera's at a weird angle, but it is my lips are a strange shape.
People watching this back. Imagine if this was on Spotify, man, and this was the sometimes the playing in the background.
So
that's probably why we'll never be on Spotify.
Yeah, probably yeah. So the Nintendo Wii was a family system. It was created to have parents play, have kids play, have grandparents play even. It was them trying to push to a wider audience because they couldn't hustle in on the same way that the PlayStation or the Xbox could. The Xbox could.
The
Xbox. So, like, the entire motion tracking thing was 4 years before the Xbox Connect. And it worked better than the Xbox Connect because it had a dedicated... the tracker was in your hand rather than it being your body as the tracker.
Well, the Xbox Connect kind of just copied the Wii, didn't they, really?
Oh, yeah, no, they did. They really did. But, like, the way they did it was different, which is why they got away with it. And it was...
The same with the Move, man.
They didn't work. The Wii, in my memory, is the only one that worked perfectly. Because it was simplified.
It just was never as popular as the Wii.
Well, the reason the Kinect didn't work was because sometimes it wouldn't even track you, even if you because you got a little card with it. Because I had one, you'd get a little card and it would be like, here's where I'm stood. You've got to do so much setup for this thing to work. Whereas Nintendo Wii, put the thing down and it just worked out of the box as long as you went. It's on top of the TV. It's underneath the TV. That's all you had to do, and it worked. So,
Definitely.
Nintendo Wii Sports, sorry, because we're not talking about the Nintendo Wii, we're talking about Wii Sports. Sold 82 million copies. 82.
Well, that's big. You know, that is in the top 5, I think, best-selling games with Minecraft and Tetris.
Yeah,
because it was on every single freaking Wii, given as a free item. I don't think it should count.
No, it does count. It always even added games in consoles now still count.
Games that get released free for console normally get thrown to the side and never played, but the Wii Sports is kind of essential for the Nintendo Wii, so you kind of have to play it.
Well, the thing is, it was great. The game is incredible. The
game is incredible.
The game was incredible. It was the reason why it worked so well is because it was the first thing you play. It was intended as a way to benchmark how the thing works, so you get used to it. It brought about sort of a really quiet revolution where a lot of people were paying attention to the gaming industry in a way that they hadn't for a long time. And it was because it was aimed at families. The advertising was pushed as a child, their mother, their father, and maybe even their grandparents. And they'd all have a smile on their face in a way, and they'd all be happy and fit and doing garbage or whatever, you know.
Doing garbage.
You know, but there was such good press about the games, even when it was bad press, because the press was, this game is getting people active, and then, oh no, the TV's been smashed. Like, that was a huge news story for about 2 years after the game released. Was like every now and again they'd do like an update on how many TVs had been broken, or they'd show.
Well, I remember like playing on someone's Wii, and always first thing they say was like, because I didn't have a Wii myself. Like, you know, have you done your wrist strap? My brother had a Wii. He used to play COD on the Wii. I can't imagine playing COD on the Wii, man. That must have been hell. Like,
well, you say that. I think that it works in a way that is better than consoles sometimes. So because it is.
If you have the gun attachment for you Wii remote, then it works. But I don't think he did. He was just standing there, playing COD, like, you know.
Well, you could use the controller, right? As like you could plug in a GameCube controller and it would work, and you'd play it on the controller rather than using the motion tracking. But the motion tracking was the best part about the Wii. Like, I would never not use the motion tracker compared to just playing it set down. So that's me done on the Wii Sports. What is your game?
I'll get to it in a second. I'm just
making yourself really big. Yeah, I know. I see. Dubsy, we're ending this probably at 12, honestly, at this rate. Well, my thoughts on Club Penguin. What a classic game, man. Club Penguin, no joke, I played Club Penguin for years. Until it closed out. I was so sad when it closed.
Let's get rid of Giant George, because I feel like I'm reducing the quality of the professional podcast, the professionalism. By giving George a big head. So, last game, GTA 5. So I've got another modern game.
Before you actually got... This game has existed for about 5 years now, right?
I know. It's not, well, more than 5, George. More like 8 years, mate.
Which is insane, because GTA 4 only had a life cycle of about 4 years.
One of them games that has like an infinite life cycle, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because...
Well, I don't think it's infinite. I think people...
What I like about GTA as well is they don't try to hurry out games like Call of Duty and all these other companies. Like, their quality is so good that you could be playing it for the next 20 years and it would still be like top notch. You know what I mean? But COD will just be like, we need to make another one this year. FIFA, we need another one bringing out. You know what I mean?
Well, the reason why is because it's made by Rockstar, right? Rockstar care about their audience. Like, they make...
I was going to talk about GTA 1 because it's really interesting. GTA 1 now coming back and stuff. But like you say,
didn't Rockstar make Saints Row? Or is that my imagination?
I don't think so. No, they won't make another game that competes with it. So, but they did make Red Dead Redemption, which is also another huge game, which took, I think, thousands of hours to make.
By a huge team, yeah.
I remember reading. Because you think about it, Red Dead Redemption has a huge map, like bigger than any map in game history, I think. I haven't played it. I really need to play it. I haven't played any of the Red Deads, but it looks amazing. Right, so San Andreas in GTA 5 is actually bigger than Manhattan. Like in real life. That's how big the map is. It's bigger than Manhattan. So 46% of people when this game got released actually said that they're called in sick, according to IGN. Because it's got that much of a gaming culture, like GTA.
It's existed for so long, yeah. It's been PlayStation 1, right?
PS2, PS3, PS4. Always been a good GTA. There's always been a GTA out. And the thing is, like, PS2 had multiple, but obviously GTA 4 and 5 sort of stuck around for like 5 to 10 years.
4 wasn't great, but I still played it for about...
The thing is, as well,
200 hours.
The amount of controversy around GTA 5, like the amount of times parents have like rioted and stuff and said like GTA isn't suitable for kid audiences.
But it isn't for kid audiences.
Went out and like murdered someone or something.
But it's not for kid audiences. That's it. It's their bad parent.
To be honest, it wasn't even the game's fault. It was more
this is legitimately what I get mad about is parents blaming the companies.
They always blame games, but you know, there's been research that showed that it's not.
Well, the thing is, it's not even games. Like people will get mad about films or games or anything, but
obviously,
stop. I would like to speak. Is there bad parenting that lets them play these games? Is there bad parenting that lets them watch certain streamers or whatever? Like there are streamers that get so much flack, even though they say, you know, this isn't for kid audiences, especially on Twitch where it has the 18+ thing, or this isn't intended for mature audiences. They still get flack saying, don't swear in front of my kid.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Like GTA, everything they say, it goes against. I mean, it's incredibly violent. I mean,
exactly. But it is not intended for a kid audience. So every time they talk about, like, oh, you know, this game isn't suitable for kids. Yeah, no shit, because it isn't suitable for kids. It's rated 18.
Because they were stereotyping women in a certain way, which I do, because you have like hookers and all sorts of people. I mean,
yeah, but they say that like that isn't what happens in real life.
Exactly, it's something that happens in real life. But as I say, like it's got that much controversy and it still survives that. It's still.
Did I ever tell you? I don't know if it was 5, but a lot of the bad reviews you'll see in review magazines or review sites is paid for by Rockstar. Rockstar will happily pay for bad reviews.
Bad reviews still gets.
Bad reviews get better sales than good reviews for GTA at least. I don't know about Red Dead or whatever.
They're always on to me and saying like, "Why don't you play GTA 5?" I do have GTA 5, and I've played most of the GTA's. The thing is, with me, is like. GTA is a brilliant game, and this one is like amazing. I got into it very late. Very late, but so far into it.
Feels
and
dead
my GTA to me is driving around running over people,
which isn't indicative to a good YouTube thing.
Which I used to love to do on PS2, but now you can do so many more things, so it's just not really original to do it. People still do it, but you know, it's just. It gets a bit boring after a while. But GTA 5 actually does quite well on YouTube. Me and George might have to revisit it, but I don't know, because
the reason why GTA 5 does so well is because it still has a huge audience that play it, and people want to watch it from a different angle, right? Yeah?
It's the culture, the gaming culture. Like, GTA has always been a staple. Since PS1, they spent so much time making the game. The stories I heard are pretty good. 31 hours long.
That seems about right for most games, though. Like,
not really, George, because like Spider-Man Miles Morales, for example, 7 hours.
Yeah, but that didn't feel like a game. That felt like an add-on to a previous game. I don't know
Most
why they
games
sold it
are
as a
like
new game.
15 hours. Original Spider-Man 15 hours. Assassin's Creed, they're around 30 hours.
Actually, I say that Uncharted was 15 hours. 'Cause I played it, sat down in one sitting, didn't I?
They're
Yeah.
about 15 at most. If they're bigger games like Assassin's Creed, like 30 hours, because that is a heavily it's a story game
Story-based
basically.
game, yeah.
But this also does online. It's got these huge maps, as I say, bigger than
Online is
Manhattan.
what
I mean, think of
pulls
how
most
long
of
it
the
takes.
views.
How long it takes to make one of those maps. Everything in that game has to be created digitally.
It's definitely
The
got
map
a lot easier because you can do photorealistic scans now
because
compared
of
to previously.
technology. But just think of the work that went into it. I mean,
Oh yeah,
they
absolutely.
do Red Dead as well. Like apparently, it spent like hundreds of thousands of hours making Red Dead, and it took them like 10 years. They don't skimp on quality. Like GTA 6 won't be released till GTA 6 is ready.
Well, compared to Cyberpunk, they spent 10 years on Cyberpunk and they still fucked it up majorly. Like,
So this game
that is the
basically
vast difference.
This game would have lasted through 3 generations of consoles.
Yeah.
If it makes it onto the PS5, which
Which
no
will.
doubt will,
Yeah,
and
it
it's
will.
backward compatibility. Same with Minecraft. That's why I've talked about it, because it doesn't die, and that's when you know a game's good, because people are still playing it 5 years
The
later.
problem is though, that's not always a good thing that it doesn't die. I'm just taking this from a different angle. Like, people want to play a new.
They do want to play a new variation of it, but again, they keep updating it. They keep adding new cars, new concepts. You can basically live in GTA. You can do everything you can do in real life in GTA.
It's
you can earn money.
all pay to win, right?
Buy
a lot of
houses.
this stuff is so expensive in the game that you're like encouraged to buy
I think it's got,
microtransactions.
buy houses and stuff like that. That's what I love about games. Like, you can live your life that you want in that game.
That's why people love The Sims, right? Because they want idealistic lives. Or
exactly. But
specific...
The Sims have just gone downhill, to be honest. But like GTA 5
it's
just
actually
does it
pretty
all,
big on Twitch, you know. Sims 4 is pretty big on Twitch still.
It does it all. And although I don't talk about GTA 5 much, I got to give it credit. And I remember the hype when it came out. People were camping outside game for like days.
Yeah.
Days.
And
I remember
it was
talking about it in class, and
the
they were
graphics
like,
were incredible as well.
And still, like, again, it's a generational game. Your dad will play GTA 5. Your granddad will play because I played it on the PS1, you know what I mean? And then you'll have like a 10-year-old kid who's just got into it.
The quality is incredible. Like, if you go back to like the first GTAs, where it's a completely different game because it was a top-down.
But still, then it was still revolutionary for gaming.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like the way that it's always been cutting-edge technology, cutting-edge graphics. Like GTA 1, which was GTA Great Britain, I think, right? Rockstar is an English company.
I think there was a lot of lawsuits that they experienced like back in the day that almost prevented it from happening. And still now to this day, there's so many laws in place and so much controversy that it makes them have to push it back. But it's the only game that is subject to all that stuff and still survives.
Was it GTA that brought about? No, it wasn't. Ignore me. It was Mortal Kombat. I was going to say they brought about age rating, but it was Mortal Kombat.
I think it was probably a similar time, and I think they would have got a lot of stick for it, because I remember watching a documentary about it, and there was so much stuff that was going on when it was being produced that it almost didn't get made.
Yeah,
because
which is understandable.
The game,
like that was back when people were scared of the media in their own house, right? Like they were scared of manipulation of children and brain. Like people were still scared of hypnotism then.
Yeah.
Compare that to the 60s, there is a law in British TV that you cannot show hypnotism. The only reason the only person you'll ever see do it is Darren Brown.
Yeah.
But he didn't call it hypnotism. He called it something else, so he got away with it. Like it was called like subtle manipulation or some garbage name he made up.
Another reason why I've got to talk about GTA 5, and the final reason, other than the graphics and all the other stuff we've mentioned, it's the most expensive game ever made.
How much?
£137 million. I think
they've clawed that back
over. I think Modern Warfare might have been around a similar amount. Might have been a tiny bit more because it was made like a year later, or not like a year later. It made like last year, but in 2013 it was, and it has made billions.
Yeah, like
I think it's one of the best selling
not
games.
only
As well.
in initial sales, but like microtransactions in
Not
the game.
Even though Minecraft has made more copies and sold more copies, GTA 5 is a more expensive game.
Yeah,
And
Minecraft
obviously
goes for 15, right? When I last looked at the price, it might have gone
I
up
think
since.
it might actually be one of the best selling games in history. I'm correct. Minecraft is the best selling game, but that's copies sold, units sold. GTA is obviously at higher cost, so
Yeah, highest grossing.
so there you go. That's my games. I think I've done quite well.
Should I tell you my final? Should I tell you my final game?
It's got to be something trash, man. It's got to be something like Legend of Zelda or something, man.
Bro, I have gone with Legend of Zelda.
I'm gonna joke, man. And I just get that.
But I
went
went with Majora's Mask over Ocarina of Time.
How well do I know George? How many games have been produced in the history of gaming? And how weird is George? George is the weirdest guy I've ever met.
Majora's Mask is great.
I managed to pick what game he chose out of all those games. Bearing in mind, we have not spoke about this podcast at all. All we said was what we're going to do. Pick like 6 things. And throughout the podcast, we've had similar elements, and it's somehow
worrying. It's worrying, isn't it? It's scary that we're quite similar.
How our minds are like in sync, man. I might have to I don't know, reprogram myself.
So, the reason why I've gone with Majora's Mask instead of Ocarina of Time,
I still can't believe I guessed that. It's just so weird that it's like a red.
Well, the reason why is because you prefer shooter games or builder games, right? I quite like RPGs or.
Yeah, but that just come to me. Like I was just gonna say a random ass game, and I just picked Legend of Zelda out my ass.
Dude,
and that's what you.
You cannot tell me it is not a.
I've never played
game. No, but you know of it, right? It is an incredible RPG, right? So many people will tell you that Ocarina of Time is a better game. You're entitled to your opinion, but they are fucking wrong.
Not really.
Majora's Mask is better. Deadass. Stop the cameras. It's better. It's just better. So I'm going to tell you why it's better. Because it's better.
George, you've not done any research, man. I've spent like 30 minutes on each one. And all you can say is, "Oh, I'll tell you what's better, mate, because it's better." I'm actually trying to string
Listen. I have more.
I've just spent 20 minutes talking about GTA 5. Oh,
right.
I'll tell you why Legend of Zelda is so good, man. Because you know why? Because it's good.
That is why it is better than Ocarina of Time.
Remember, you know what, guys? This guy's got a degree.
Somehow. I pulled that out of my ass, man, honestly.
That's actually what I used to do in lectures. He's like, "Oh, you know what I've done?"
Wait, no, you're forgetting the ta-da! But I would always pull and always get it. I would always.
And they'd be like, "Oh, George, tell us about your work." That's it, mate. I've done that.
And that got me a second, a BA. Oh man!
It's how worrying is it? Like how easy it is to pass an art degree, man.
I know. Like the thing is, like you see people worrying about getting into places, and you see people worrying about passing. As long as you do a minimum amount of work, you will pass. No, like we knew one person that failed, right? That was it, and that was because he was dyslexic.
Well, that was at master's level, George.
Oh yeah, that was a master. Sorry, you will not fail a bachelor's degree if you do the minimal amount.
Literally, we used to live together. We would just distract ourselves by having showers every 10 minutes and just going shopping, man.
Dude, it would be showers, shopping, drinking in the shower, which was.
The funny thing is,
brainwave.
I tried for 2 years, and last year I didn't even try and still passed. And the masters, I barely turned up for anything and still passed.
It's a business. It's a business. They need people to pass. Because if they don't, they will not get more people in.
Legend of Zelda. We might have to do a podcast to just talk about our uni experience. I think it'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do that next week if you want. Because I know that now is around the time that people are getting offers. Well, the thing is, people are I think now is around the time when UCAS is getting back to people. Like,
but it's like you say, until you've been through it, you don't realise how easy it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And how lenient they are and what the standard is.
I know in particular that one of my viewers is like waiting on a reply. Like, you will get a place, dead ass, unless you are illiterate.
The thing is, though, getting the place is actually the hardest.
That's the hardest bit.
To begin with, and if you have them, then
you can pass it. Like, I know that they got an unconditional place, but they still haven't got any of their stuff right.
The requirements for that outfit might be a bit tougher.
Yeah, like for an artist or media degree, you don't need any.
If you're getting a degree and it's going to affect people's lives, like teaching,
then they care about it a lot more.
Like that, it's more strict.
Arts, they are so liberal about arts. Like, you could have a shit and paint it gold, and they'll be like, "Ta-da! This is
someone who's gone from studying arts and doing teaching. It's very
different,
a lot more serious. Because art, no one cares. I still care. Like I feel like
the reason why they don't care is because everything is interpretive to different people, right?
When I was doing it though, like I didn't care as much because it didn't affect anyone. Like the work I made, it was just made to show. It was just made to get points and people say, "Oh, that looks good." And when you're doing something like a paramedic, like you have to remember this stuff. You can't forget it.
Well, it's not even that. The read like university.
If you mess it up, you can ruin someone's life. You know, you can kill them. You know what I mean?
Well, even with art, like the stuff we did for art made no fucking sense. It didn't matter. Even like galleries made more sense, right? Like it was nothing like galleries. Like you could make something and be like, and they'd be like, "Oh, very nice." Yeah.
As long as you can talk about it, you know, you could start designing bloody YouTube emojis and say, you know what? Well, back in ancient Egypt,
this is indicative of hyper and poggers. You could like honestly, you could say poggers in class, and the teachers wouldn't give a shit.
When you think of an art degree, you think of painting and drawing. It's mainly how you communicate. As long as you can finesse and tell a smart, clever lie, basically.
Yeah.
As long as you can bullshit, you can get an art degree, really.
Yeah, no, honestly, like, as long as you get into a place and you do the minimal amount of work and do a little bit of describing.
Remember Nav, he was like saying to one of the teachers, they were like, you can do anything. He's like, so if I give you this blank piece of paper and I hand this in, like, well, that was taking a bit far, but he's like, I'm just going to give you this blank piece of paper and hand this in. Nothing on it.
As long as you explained it, like, you're like, oh, this represents the nothingness that the art world has become. You'd be like, you know, like.
The thing is, George, you still didn't explain. Still got, like,
I know. Man, I'm so lucky to have got my degree.
I mean, your final project was like an anime game that looked like a bloody PowerPoint slideshow.
Yeah, I know, but because it was about politics, they gave me a pass anyway because it was involving.
I was doing all sorts of 3D printing and stuff like that. I say I didn't try, but like I did do like quite a lot of work. Like my not trying is other people's going the extra mile, I think.
Yeah, because. Anyway, games. I mean, games.
Some of our friends just like they kept changing their ideas. They're just like, "Oh, I'm just going to create like a car boot sale with random stuff," and it's just, you know, it's going to be about stealing people's ideas. Remember Jack? He was like, "Oh,
I wonder who that was."
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, can I take a picture of your work and put it on this one and put it on that?"
I mean, fucking sure, go for it, man. I don't give a shit.
Use it for a lot of things.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
At the moment.
Well, so you can use an art degree for applying to do like TV work. You can do it for
graphics.
You could do freelance stuff. You can do you can literally get a job in a company as their media representative and
Game
stuff. Right?
development, yeah, like pretty much anything. Like as long as you can apply a context to it and say like, oh, when I was doing that, I did this or did that. And
Well, not even that. You can literally be like, oh, you could get a job at Rare, even. Like you'd be like, oh yeah, I can do 3D modeling because of what I learned back then. Like as long as you can tell them,
degree.
Yeah.
It's not like you can get an English degree and then go apply for an art job and say, oh, well, I studied English. You know what I mean? It's going to be a bit different.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, you could apply for an English job after doing an art degree, but you can't apply for an art degree, like an art job, after doing English. Because the amount of writing you have to do for an art degree anyway, like...
This mainly writing. That's the thing. But let's not talk about that, George. Let's save that for next week.
That's for next week.
This is a little introduction.
As a preview. As a preview.
Let's totally plan. Let's start the podcast. We totally plan that.
Yep, totally the plan. Legend of Zelda. Majora's Mask. Why is it a better game? Well, let me tell you, good sir, why it's a better game. Because it was the second game they made on the 64 in 3D. The first one being Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time.
Why is it called Ocarina of Time? What does that mean?
So an ocarina is a musical instrument, and the Ocarina of Time is like this mystical musical instrument that can turn time. What are you doing? Stop that. That can turn back time, especially so in Majora's Mask. It is basically a follow-on. I don't know why you've done this to me. I look like a goon. Hello, good sir.
Serious, man. I don't know why. I just can't take serious anymore, George.
So, Majora's Mask, as a kid, fucking terrifying. Oh my god. Scary as balls, dude. So, there are scenes that are dark and horrifying that you don't see in the other Zelda games. You'll see this kid be possessed by a mask, the Majora's Mask, which is why it's called that. And he essentially summons the moon to squash the country in 3 days. This is, I think, one of the only games that has a repetitive game cycle. Like, you can turn back time 3 days once you've learnt the song. The Song of Time or some bullshit name. But, like, it does the same 3 days over and over again, but it differs based on what you've done. And you have to release, like, these guardians, and they'll, like, hold the moon up. But the moon is absolutely frightening, dude. The moon gave me nightmares. The Skull Kid gave me nightmares.
Enemy or something. I read that earlier. I didn't read into it, but I was just like, what?
That sounds crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Stop trying to do another bloody Skyrim moment, man. You got to bring that back.
Yeah.
You should have done that, like, you should have picked Skyrim and you should have got your game out and done, anyway, Skyrim as soon as I finish.
It's back there somewhere. Anyway, Legend of Zelda. No, I don't have the game, so I can't just, like, bring it up. I sold it for way too little, and I regretted it ever since, because it's an expensive game, and it's really good.
Well, is Zelda getting better or worse?
Better. Absolutely better. The Breath of the Wild and Breath of the Wild 2 were some of the best-selling Zelda games of all time. They pushed for a more realistic, but also
like Zelda, in my opinion, like back in the day, was always like
kids game,
not very cool. But now it's like very in. Like
so,
it's
the reason why was because the original games were top-down views in third person, and it would be on Game Boy or the NES. But with Majora's Mask, that game gave me nightmares. It was so spooky.
Is, though, like, Zelda, alongside the games, like back in the day, like it would have been competing against like Mario and stuff. You would not pick Zelda over those, or I wouldn't personally. But now on the Switch, I can't think of any other game I would rather play on the Switch than that.
The thing is, even back then, it was still pretty early in development of 3D games. Like, Majora's Mask came out in the year 2000. Like, that's pretty early for 3D games, considering the GoldenEye was...
Well, we're talking about 64. It was 96 that came out, the Nintendo 64, so...
Yeah, well, GoldenEye was 1997. So they've only had 3 years, really, to figure out how 3D works.
One of Nintendo's, like, best-selling games. Like, it's another one of their best-selling franchises. Like, Nintendo seems to do that. Like, they'll carry, like, 5 or 6 franchises through them, and they're still popular today. And they keep making amazing games. I mean, it's the same with PlayStation. You know, you've got Crash Bandicoot, Sonic. You know, Nintendo's got Mario.
Well, the thing is, the problem with Sonic is they haven't made a good Sonic game since...
Well, they've changed the
I think
movies now.
Sonic 06.
I've switched to movies.
Well, yeah, because even the 25th anniversary, like Sonic Boom wasn't a great game. There was a Sonic game on the Wii that was fucking terrible. Like
I've not seen it.
They haven't made a good game since, I think, Sonic on the NES or whatever. Like, side scroller is where they should have stayed
Sonic
at.
Still works though.
Yeah, like Sonic is a great game. Like, it's a great franchise.
Side scroller.
It should only be done as a side scroller. Like, there are games where you go behind the character, and that doesn't work for me as a Sonic game.
But then again, if Crash Bandicoot can make a comeback, like Sonic is just as influential as that character.
The problem is that they have to work out a new formula for it.
It's kind of like a 3D version, isn't it? You know, Crash Bandicoot
it's always been 3D, right? Yeah.
You know, whereas Sonic's always been
side person. And side scroller's not a big sales point at the minute. Like, it might be in like 10 years' time or 2 years' time, depending on how whatever games are made in a side scroller fashion.
You know what though? They're missing the trick, because you could most definitely make a 3D Sonic game now. You could have a huge open world space.
Oh, they have, but it's been shit. They've made plenty of 3D Sonic games, but they don't work.
Money behind it.
They have done. They've spent 6 years in development of Sonic, the 25th anniversary, right? Still looks garbage. They like, the Wii game looks garbage. The PlayStation game looks garbage. They have not made. Well, they all look really shit. They haven't made an actual Sonic game.
Props for watching this whole thing, man.
So I'm just going to quickly cut to the end of the Zelda thing, because we're running out of time.
We're not out of time, George. It's just we did say we were going to quit at 12, but you decided to do a lot more research for Zelda and like 2 minutes of research for the rest of the games.
Yes. So the game sold a lot less.
The thing is, I don't know whether you have done research, George, because all I keep hearing is Ocarina of Time, Zelda, Ocarina of Time.
Well, no, the thing is, like, those were the 2 Zelda games on 64. And Majora's Mask, I think, was intended for use with the CD attachment. But once the CD thing got scrapped, they had to use the 4 gig adapter thing that came with. And it was intended... you couldn't play it without this data attachment. But it sold less than Ocarina of Time. It's only been 2 hours.
There's 19 minutes.
That's still pretty short, really. So they sold 3.3 million copies of that game, which isn't a lot compared to Ocarina of Time, which sold like twice as much.
Hey guys, if you made it here, you could have watched the full movie in this time.
We got some very, very quick gaming news.
Oh, George, take your time, man.
No, I'm done with that. Do you know, here's a thing that's happening in the PlayStation world. An American law firm is thinking about suing PlayStation because of controller drift. If apparently the controller drift's really bad on the DualSense controllers. Like they're thinking about doing a class action controller. Yeah, well, they're thinking about doing a class action lawsuit.
But they don't care though. It's like Samsung. They always slow down phones with updates, and they've actually, it's been proven. And that, like, every phone company, even Apple and Samsung, have been took to court and buying a lot of money, but the amount of money they're making outweighs the amount of money they can be charged.
Exactly.
So they don't.
But I think this might make a huge difference because it is a console that is still fairly new. Not many people really have one. If they're already getting sued on stick drift, just imagine how bad it is. It's been out for what, half a year, if that. Really.
Well, this is what we said, about waiting.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I've been resigned to wait, even though I didn't want to for the PS5.
It's been good that you did because.
Well, it's not my fault though because I would have bought it. Like I had the money, I was ready.
No, I know.
I've been looking for months.
Do you remember the bugs on the first week, the first few weeks of the bugs, where Call of Duty would brick your PlayStation, like it wouldn't work? The stick drift is apparently unbelievably bad, even compared to PS4 ones, which are also atrocious, right?
It normally takes at least a year for the company to get it right.
Yeah.
Well, but the thing is, I don't.
It's not even their fault. It's completely not their fault.
They're not going to be working on software right now. They're working on trying to produce more consoles, and that's going to make it take even longer to fix these issues. To get a perfect console. Really, you want to wait 1 to 2 years to buy a new PlayStation.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to get it straight away because I've always had the new console. But I can't do it because they're scalpers.
There was a news flash that came up on the website that I look at for gaming news, in brackets IGN. I look at IGN. I just look at the top stories for the week. GTA 5 has officially sold more than 140 million copies, I think, this week. Which is weird that we've been talking about GTA 5 basically all day. See you later, Dubsy.
It sold 193 million, I think. I could be wrong.
Well, I literally looked today and it said 140 mil. From a reputable source and not your mouth. So
maybe that's on the newest console.
No, that's in total. That's...
Probably is in Fortnite.
Apex
Legends.
Apex Legends in Fortnite. Yeah, Apex Legends 2-year anniversary. Also,
I remember the last anniversary we were playing it on the day.
Yeah, that was a year ago, man. Can you believe it?
How they don't update the game as much as they need to, and there's no
then
new
suddenly there is new maps galore, man.
Well, we was playing in World's Edge, then. But the thing is, for me, the problem with Apex Legends is every new map it gets worse. Because I am always a King's Canyon boy, and I always will be. And now they've redone King's Canyon again. Every time they redo it, it becomes more fun.
Yeah, well, the thing, because they make a lot of changes to it, right? Every time, like, bits are missing now, bits have been added.
I know they're trying to go for a different look, but to me, like, Apex is supposed to look like you're in the Jurassic era mixed with some new.
The problem with that is because it's a Titanfall, it's in the Titanfall universe, right? It has to have Titanfall feel about it because it is the same universe. The guns are from the same, like, they're all the same guns from Titanfall to Apex. I think they're trying to match the aesthetic, which they, because at the start,
what's going to happen? You know what's going to happen with it is King's Canyon eventually is going to become like the new map because they're going to keep getting newer and newer.
I hope
We've seen it all the time. It's gone from a really beaten up, like Jurassic era type.
Well, no, at the start, like there were no big things in the middle. Like at the start, it was just.
It's like becoming brand new now because you see all these little things popping up, all these like containers and.
Which would happen in real life if it's supposed to be a sporting event, right?
The thing is, though, it happens, but no one notices. I only just got that thought in my head and thought, hang on. I'm thinking about the iterations of King's Canyon. Yeah, it is like changing.
Yeah, and
but
it always will be.
No one else talks about that.
The thing is, it's like real life. Like sporting events, like the Olympics, changes every 4 years or whatever. Like FIFA changes every 4 years. Like that is a sport. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's how they should have done it. They should have just kept one map like Fortnite, but kept updating
it would have got stale with just one map. I think 2 was good, and they rotated between 2, but adding Olympus in now.
George, whose favourite maps are Olympus or World's Edge?
No one's. World's Edge maybe, but Olympus no.
Everybody's favourite map is the first one.
Okay,
saying that though, they don't
news.
Innovate, they never
News, because I need to pee again. Ratchet and Clank has a release date, June the 11th.
I've kind of given up on Ratchet and Clank, man.
Yeah, I know.
For me,
Post Malone, the famous singer, Mabob, with the face tattoos, is performing in a virtual Pokemon concert. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah, but Post Malone is a huge gamer.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
you see live on Twitch playing COD and
so,
everything. You know? He actually started playing guitar on the Nintendo Wii. Guitar Hero. That's how we learned guitar.
I'm gonna go piss real quick, and then I'll be back to finish the news. Like,
say congratulations. You just got to be. Oh, yeah. 2.5 hours, boys. Hope you are enjoying the podcast. We're these weekly. Let us know what we should cover next.
let's get right into the news. Ow, fuck. God damn it. Hello. I just hurt my head. Hello, good sir. What have you done to the video?
Hello.
So, the thing that confused me about that, the Post Malone thing, like, with no previous really idea about why. Like, when I went online and I saw the animated visage of Post Malone, I was already pretty scared. But then, because it's Pokemon.
You know what I hate? Pokemon is such a big thing right now. It's blowing up again. It's one thing that always comes back, like no matter what.
Always.
And it's so influential. And they're doing Happy Meals with Pokemon packs for 25th anniversary.
Yeah,
and they're not available in the UK. You know what we get? Top Trumps.
Yeah, I know.
Animal Top Trumps.
Sad
That's what the kids in the UK get. US getting all these Pokemon cards. There's adults going out buying like 5,000 packs. And getting them like for like $1 each because, you know, McDonald's is saying, oh, you don't have to buy the Happy Meal, you just buy the toys. But no kids getting the toys because they're buying them all up. But then they're selling them on eBay for like a million quid because it's Pokemon and Pokemon sells. And, you know, like a Pokemon pack, it's like
McDonald's
$10.
have really tried to, like, I read in the news I was reading that they've really tried to push back against that kind of behaviour, and especially in the Happy Meals, but there's not much they can do.
So many people are doing it and they're just allowing it.
I know, but there's not much they can do, is there?
At the end of the day, they're making money and it's selling. It's good for the business, you know. And it's only a limited time thing. I think it was only available for one day.
Yeah.
So, but I just wish we had that in the UK.
America's such a bigger market, though. That's why they get better stuff. They have more people. It's a bigger place.
But it should be released worldwide. I mean, McDonald's is a worldwide company. Why can't they release it everywhere? They might do, though, because normally what happens in America happens in the UK a month later. So
they might have had licensing issues. You never know with these kind of things. So,
but I would love that. I would totally be down to buy like 20 Happy Meals, man. Just to get those. Because I know in 20 years that's going to be worth a fortune.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, Burger King did, like, 20 years ago, they did...
Pokemon, yeah. But they did, like, coin ones or something, didn't they? Like metal ones or, I don't know.
Well, not even... No, they did little boxes. Cards. They did boxes with little Pokeballs, and in the Pokeball there'd be a Pokemon. But they also did the movie cards.
Yeah.
The gold Mew card. Was it Mew?
They're not worth as much, though, because they're gold movie cards. But these cards look like Pokemon cards that you see everywhere. And people are going to want them for their collection to put alongside the others. A 25th anniversary of Pikachu in 50 years is going to be worth money.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, people always care about the
Why don't you
monetary
do card
value.
openings on YouTube as well? I used to. If you search channel, there's whole box breaks, and they didn't used to get any views.
It's big. It was in the AMS. The Ask Me Anything ones as well. You used to do them as well.
Q&A as well.
Yeah.
I even did one over at Abby's with no equipment.
I remember that, and the camera fell over. So recently, there was a data breach at our favorite company, Project Red. They lost the source code to Cyberpunk, and they lost the source code to
every
The
week.
Witcher
It's
3.
just Cyberpunk news. Can we just?
No, I don't. I don't. It's always in the news because it is such a stupid company. So they were held at ransom for the things. But
if you go back 7 weeks, this podcast.
Every week there's been a CD Projekt Red. Yeah, absolutely, because it is big news, my guy. They con their audience.
To talk about every week, like cult angles or something.
I will find a way to get Project Red.
Episode 64.
Episode 64. Cyberpunk's finally good. So all of their fire, they had like a huge hacking incident, and the source codes got stolen for The Witcher.
I feel really bad for people who bought the Ultimate Edition. It's like 250 quid, man. You get a statue in Cyberpunk game. I see people selling them on eBay now for like 30 quid. Like,
the thing is, if you were to buy that for 30 quid in like 10 years, you'd be making a profit, I think.
Yeah, but you'd have to wait 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. Like they want the short term. No, absolutely not. It's
at first, like when I seen it, I thought like Keanu Reeves, man, this is gonna be such a cool freaking game, man.
Yeah, well, he normally does passion projects, right? So he's always passionate about his work. That let him down.
Well, to be honest, like the game on paper sounds good, but it's the company just amazing. Stupid.
So they they lost all the source code to the games. They were held at ransom for them, and they refused to pay it. So it went on auction on the black market, on the dark web, and they sold it. They haven't actually released how much the data got sold for, but someone somewhere owns the source code for Cyberpunk. So I'm hoping that they're gonna remake it into a good game. Can you imagine if that was what they bought it for?
Maybe they'll just make it worse and make all the characters like Minecraft characters. They already are, aren't they? But they'll just make it. If I bought that, I'd make them worse.
So, in other news like this, there was a mod for Cyberpunk.
The thing is, how big is that game company? What other stuff have they done?
Project Red, they did Witcher, and they did...
See, they've got such a good history of games. Like, this game could really sink them.
And they did it in 10 years. 10 years they've been making Cyberpunk. 10
you know what they should have done?
Years.
They should have waited till 2077 and release it then.
It probably would have been working by then.
Maybe that's why they called it that. Because I thought, bloody hell.
That is the predicted release date.
You know what, mate? We've put enough time into this. Looks like a PS2 game. Let's release it on every console ever. And, sell it for 50 quid each. We've hyped it up enough, it'll be fine. That's why. And then it doesn't work.
Well, do you know what happened? Well, not because of that. There was a mod released on the Steam Workshop. There was a sex mod where, because you're supposed to be able to romance people and supposedly fuck them, right? So they've had to they did they pulled it from the mods from wherever they made the mod, because I think they've got their own mod builder. Because it is not legal to make sex mods of actual people. And who is in the game? Keanu fucking Reeves. So people were sexing Keanu Reeves.
That's literally why most people bought the game, I think.
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt. Like it was within a week of them releasing the mod toolkit. Like they'd already made that.
Matrix shit on Keanu Reeves.
There is a new game that looks quite promising. It's called Hood Outlaws, and it is a player versus player heist simulator. So in my head, it's like maybe it's like Hitman or them scenes in Nathan Drake, where you've got to do the heists. But it's
called Uncharted, George.
Listen, I forgot. I don't know if you could tell I forgot for half a second. It was like, ooh.
I did. The thing is, I think you've been saying that to me, George, because I was looking to buy Uncharted Collector's Edition, and for some reason I typed Nathan Drake into eBay. So you've been putting this.
Do you know why? It's because Nathan Drake Collection is the name of the like the free people, right?
I think you stole off me.
No, it's free. Nathan Drake Collection was free on the.
I used to have it on the PS3, didn't I? On PS4, but I used to have it when we was living at uni.
Yeah. I'd never played it until recently, and I fell in love with it because I used to play the Tomb Raider games.
We gotta hurry this up, George, because we haven't even done the questions in the chat, man.
Oh yeah, shit. Dice are working on Dice are working on a new Battlefield game, so expect the Battlefield game trailer probably 2 years from now. Honestly, Battlefield was great. No, Battlefield is in Bad Company 4. In technological news, pigs can play games with their snouts on console. What times we live in where scientists have time to train a fucking pig to play fucking GTA?
These older scientists who are used to watching, what was it called? Summer of the World. Tomorrow's World, back in the 70s. And they're just all these experiments. And they're just like, and Professor John Lumley has got a pig. Here he is, a pig with a snout playing a game. Just to show off how good somebody is.
Along with the same technological advances, spinach can send emails, which happened last week. Yeah, spinach, like the plant spinach. They've created a way to make it send emails if there's...
That's something you created in your dream, George.
No. Honestly, if there's like bombs or compounds that are indicative to explosives, so landmines, old World War II things. Let me finish. They have found a way to have spinach grow in that area.
Idea, George. We should totally do podcasts on like moments in
science.
No, like influential periods in history, like World War II, like the Jurassic era, ancient Rome. And we just
the thing is, because of coronavirus, scientists now have too much fucking funding that they're making spinach send emails and pigs play games. They're not working on a cure. They are working
and provide education for all the kids, because BBC's doing all this stuff where they got TV.
CBeebies, yeah, they're doing
educational. TV. Me and George can do an educational podcast, so then the kids can be exposed to it and learn about World War II and ancient Rome from me and George.
Who know nothing about World War II and ancient Rome.
And then I can tune into more podcasts and then realise they're like, what are we watching, man?
So the reason why they've done this is because in certain areas of the world there are like landmine fields, and
that's why it's funny to talk about that. Because say we talk about the Egyptians brushing their teeth with a mouse, which I'm sure I seen on Horrible Histories when I was a kid. Imagine you explain that. Like, he brushing his teeth with a mouse. A mouse. I can just imagine
fucking it. Mouse. Well, no. Well, the reason why they've actually done this.
What? Brushing their teeth with mouse?
That's worrying, Caleb, because you're underage. Maybe don't post that, my guy. Ever. Anywhere.
What did you say?
In your chat, you should look.
That's Alfie that's put that.
No, it's Caleb. In the hidden message, in the helpful reviews bit.
Oh, I can't see it.
You don't want to. The reason why they've made spinach this smart, because there's like minefields and World War II landmines.
How does spinach send an email? I still don't get it.
Well,
explain this to me.
I have no idea, but they send electrical signals, so they've taught them to send emails.
I've taught spinach. Do you have me on the drink, mate?
No, honestly, look on BBC News and all sorts of shit.
Gaming news.
Because it was I saw the pig thing, and then was like, spinach.
That's what happens when you view things on the internet at like 1 a.m. and you're like, oh, it's a video about spinach. Send it an email. Oh, that's got me there. That's got me hooked. I'm intrigued about that. Click on it.
I have one more news story.
Next thing you know, you're watching rats play the piano.
So, my last news story. Everyone's favourite animatronic from Borderlands, Claptrap, is being played by Jack Black in the film they're going to do. So it's Jack Black the Claptrap. Yeah. I don't know why they didn't get the original Claptrap.
Nobody else laughed then.
That wasn't a joke. That was just how I've written it down. Jack Black voicing Claptrap in Borderlands movie. That's all I wrote.
That's the problem with your research.
That's the story.
Man.
That's the story, Captain.
And I think that wraps up our podcast.
Yeah, we've got any
questions?
questions?
You guys have any questions? Because I mean, you have sat here for 2 hours 41 minutes. You might have something to say. So
I know that Dubsy was asking me about Club Penguin. The reason why they closed it, Dubsy, was because they were losing money on the servers.
That's funny, George. We haven't really talked about PC gaming that much, have we?
We've always been majoritarily console players. I've not until recently had a console, a laptop, a computer, good enough to play games. I used to have like a stupid Acer Aspire chunky ass laptop, and before that it was like a Windows 98 that barely ran games designed for Windows 98.
I really didn't think this podcast would last this long. I didn't think we'd make it to 2 hours, to be honest.
It's 3 hours, my guy. 3 hours.
Every week we're losing viewers. I mean, we're down to 8 likes. The first podcast had like 20 likes, man. We're down to 8 likes. Oh well, we might get more views. I don't know, but
maybe. Did we play Just Cause? I played Just Cause 2, Caleb. That was great. Just Cause was for me a game that had a real replayable factor. Like I really enjoyed.
Every time I look at it, it just it sends me signals. I just think of Uncharted.
Oh yeah, but it's absolutely different. There are some class lines that, like, me and my friend, we played it together in the same building back when that was allowed. Before COVID, when we could.
Iconic Uncharted line.
No, not Uncharted. Just Cause. There is a line that I love, and it is, "My name is Bolo Santosi. I am the leader of the revolutionary army known as the Reapers." And that is all I remember from that game, was just Bolo Santosi, and she was the leader of the revolutionary army known as the Reapers. That's all you needed to know about that game. That game...
How can you remember that? The one thing I never remember from games is lines. Everything else...
The reason why I remember it was because my friend was doing the accent at the same time as she was saying it, because he'd previously played it, right? So that was... that was a joke of ours for a solid year or two.
I remember small bits from each game. Like I know Ezio's accent from Assassin's Creed, Ezio Editori. Like that accent is iconic, and Granada. I couldn't remember. I couldn't string together a full sentence from a game.
Well, the only reason I remember it is because it was a joke between me and my friend. That is the only reason.
Sup, Rocky
Hi,
TV.
Rocky.
He couldn't have done because he would have been commenting. He did comment a bit.
At work.
This is the perfect thing to watch at work.
Yeah, 3 hour long podcast of us talking pure bollocks.
If you've got a really break, you can watch it in bits, watch it in parts, man. Watch an hour at a time.
So I only played Just Cause 2. And the only reason I played Just Cause 2 was because it was cheap. And then Just Cause 3 and 4 have come along, and I have not got around to playing them yet. Even though we have them.
Yeah, I've had them for ages.
We got them. I mean, we didn't even buy them. I didn't buy them. They came with PlayStation Plus.
Everything on the PlayStation, pretty much. That every game I could ever want, but I never play them. I keep buying games and not playing them. It's a big issue I got, because the games take too long. I don't have time.
I was going to play a different game, but I was I'm going to finish Greedfall, and then I'm going to play...
Yeah. A year ago, where I was playing Assassin's Creed and then playing Minecraft. I was doing 2 games. You're doing Fortnite and Greedfall, but
And
it got to a
Apex.
point where I had to stop doing one or the other because I don't have the time. So I focus on one, but I've still got like 20 other games to play because I keep buying them, keep thinking that would be interesting to play and stream. But another thing is like I don't play to have fun anymore. I only play to stream.
Yeah,
So
I don't do that anymore, but like when I was on Twitch, it was if I'm playing this, I'm streaming it. I'm not playing it for me.
That's what
Like,
I always think.
I play Apex now just because I enjoy it. Even if I'm not streaming it, I will still play it. Even if I'm playing, I don't play Greedfall because that is all story based. I can't hop into that without streaming it because I've already put in 15, 16, 20
That's
hours
the
into
same
it.
thing. All the games I want to play are all story based. So like Spider-Man, I really want to play it, but I don't play it off stream. But then I don't
Well,
want to
yeah,
stream
the
it.
thing you could do is you could do the side quests, but in Greedfall, the side quests actually make a difference to the game. They're not
That's
just
the thing.
side
Same
quests.
point, like, you can do a side quest and it can lead you onto the mission.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to risk it. But I will go back to it because Abby's just. Did I tell you? Abby's just bought me Valhalla for Valentine's Day. So I might possibly be playing that. Even
Valhalla
though
looks great.
it's breaking my rules though, because I said I was going to play Assassin's Creed from the beginning. But thinking about it, I've bought 15 Assassin's Creeds last year, and I'm still on Assassin's Creed 2. So really, I should probably go back.
So the problem is, I think for you, is that you're playing for stream. Like you're playing, like if you were playing Assassin's Creed not on stream, you would have finished them. Like no joke. Like if you were just doing the main story, you could do them in like maybe 2-3 weeks.
Creed 2, I've got one trophy left. I can't really do it. It's like strip 10 enemies up. I don't know whether you want to try and do that for me, George. And get that platinum.
Well, the thing is, like, you're playing them to platinum them. I don't even play for 100% anymore.
Yeah, but Assassin's Creed 2, like, it's one that it was possible to platinum.
Yeah.
Like, and I just wanted to do it. But it's just that one trophy. Maybe you can have a go, George, if you can do it. If you got my account.
Sure can do.
You'll probably do it in 5 minutes, to be fair.
Well, I have played Assassin's Creed since Assassin's Creed 3. And I love Black Flag and...
You're lucky to have a girl that doesn't cheat. Well, I mean, to be honest, I think everyone should have that.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a lucky thing to have. You're just unlucky.
You know, it's not that, George. Everybody goes through that, you know, as we've said
Oh, yeah,
before.
no, absolutely. Like, that is a growing up point in your life.
You know, sift through the bad ones, get to the good one.
But, I mean, the thing is, like, depending on... Like, this might be a bit too, like, adult for you, but as long as you agree to have an open relationship or be polyamorous or whatever, like, as long as you've had a discussion with your girlfriend about that. Fuck no. She'd never agree.
I know, she would have. Oh, that's like...
But, like, as long as you both agree that open relationship or polyamory or, you know, all these things will, like, as long as you've had that discussion, then it's not cheating. If you haven't had that discussion...
My previous relationships, though, was that I don't know, I just got too attached. And I was too, like,
quite
needy.
early. Yeah.
I wouldn't, there wouldn't be, like, a minute I wouldn't, like, text or whatever. But now, I'm just, like, you know, I can actually be on my own and get stuff done for myself. Because I focused on myself for a bit and took the time. So now with Abby, it's more natural, like the way it should be.
Yeah.
Like we both have our own space, but we both also, you know, spend time together. It's the best way to do it. So really focus on yourself and don't try and get too close.
The thing is, I think, Caleb, you're like 11, 12, 13, however old you are, like...
You shouldn't be focused on girls, though, guys. I mean, now before the age of, like, 16, probably even 18, I didn't even give a crap. I was too busy playing games. I think now kids grow up too quick.
That's not always a bad thing, though.
Mm.
But it can be if you're not having a childhood. Like, I was lucky.
In fact, if I was like these guys, I wouldn't get to uni because I'd be too distracted by women, girls.
Well, I mean, the thing is, there's a certain age where you, like, when puberty hits, you're like, oh yeah, like, I'm interested in X or Y male or female. You have that discussion with yourself at like that age. You're like, oh yeah, okay. But even after that, you still need to have this discussion with yourself about what do you want in life. Which is weird to say when you're like 15, 16. But if you discover yourself before you discover other people, then that will make your life easier in the long run.
I know as well, like in uni, I wouldn't have got through it if I maintained a relationship through it, because I get too distracted. It's like, Andrew, one of the reasons he failed his masters is because he was getting caught up with women. And obviously during my third year, like I did, not third year, but my masters, I did like start like dating a lot of people and stuff like that. Not a lot of people, but I started dating and stuff.
Man was pulling bitches left, right, and center. Yeah.
So, just focus on yourself basically, and then when you stable.
I mean, the thing is, like,
we're talking about it as if like we're talking to adults, man.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, I know that people don't like being talked down to because you're 14 or whatever, But you do need to have like an adult conversation about this at some point, and not just the talk, which never really helped anyway. I don't think we're the people to do it, but I'll give it a goddamn try.
We're basically like your guys like YouTube dads or something.
Yeah, like, and I'm fine with that. Like, I'm happy to have these conversations because it took me a while to figure out myself, right? So I think you were also the same. Like, it's tricky to do anything really until you're.
The thing is, like Caleb said earlier, like because his girlfriend left him, like it was like self-harming and stuff. He said that he cut himself. Definitely don't do anything like that, man. Never do that to yourself.
Well, the thing is, it's not as easy as that, is it? Like, I know the emotions are tricky, and you have to have a way to output those emotions. For me, that's why I did art at the start. That is why, like, I created things was a way to not hurt myself or the people around me.
At your age, and probably not going to be that influential in your life when you're like our age.
No, absolutely. Like, I still think about people that I dated, sure, but like, I don't think I would like them now, to be honest. Like, they were people that I dated because I was with them at the time, right? I was there at school with them every day. They were in my form, they were in my class. That is why I got emotionally attached to them, which is fine.
It's like you saying.
You realise.
You said you got dumped in the school, didn't you? Because like some guy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's tough. I mean, imagine that going through your head whilst you're at school, thinking.
Mid-lesson, yeah. In my favourite lesson, that was back when I really enjoyed history. Right. But suddenly, after that, I was like, oh yeah, history. I'm sat next to the person.
Did you cry?
No, I was just really shocked about it. Like, it hit me in a way that nothing had hit me before.
That's one thing about me. Like, it's really difficult to make me cry. I think the last time I cried was like when my nan died.
Yeah, it's deaths are the only thing that seems to get me anymore.
Like, I'm just like so cold-hearted. Like, I just won't react. I'll react in my head.
Yeah,
I'm sad. I was trying to tear for anybody because
I don't think it's worth it. Like my parents will be talking about people that have died, and I'm like, well, they're dead. There's nothing being like people that they don't know is what I mean. Like people that you don't have an emotional attachment to. Like
this happens every week. How do we get from games to this like really deep, serious stuff, man? Like,
it's the AMAs, man. It gets weird.
So at the end of the podcast, do you have any questions?
Well, I mean, I'm happy to talk about it because I don't really think I have that many emotions anymore.
Wise knowledge.
Like, I
don't think I do.
No, and I think it's something that we need to talk about because I know that I did.
Sometimes you put on and laugh as well. Like, I'm always smiling, but
yeah,
it's
exactly.
not always.
Emotions are weird and tricky, and it gets to a point where you're.
I hard to like properly be happy because no one's ever satisfied. You know, like I can't remember the last time that I was genuinely like over the moon, like happy, like and realizing that moment. You know what I mean? I don't think.
Well, I mean,
I
I
don't
think
know.
the problem is school changes you in a way that you
Get
can't
so
explain.
wrapped up in life and you can't like enjoy things when they happen. You think about them later on, you think, bloody hell, that was amazing time in your life, but you don't get time to fully enjoy it. Time moves too quick.
Especially with school, right? School
I
changes you
hope
in a
one
way.
day, I hope one day this ends up on like a TikTok sound, and it's like, what's that TikTok song? It's okay, money. And then it's like that montage.
Oh, like for real, like I don't have many emotions. I don't really get sad. I don't really.
Generation, I think.
Yeah, well, the reason why is because we were brought up online, right? And I think that is a problem.
Like
Like,
because similar personalities in a way.
well, no, because I know it's not just you. Like, I know that because I have lived most of my life through a computer screen, that I'm sort of acclimatized to things happening in real life based off of experiences I've had in games or even in like streams and stuff that I've seen. So, I mean, it's tricky to have this conversation really because I still don't quite understand it myself. Like, is it like really like depression? Who knows? Not me, that's for sure. But I've never been
Really happy.
oh, like I enjoy my life. Like, yeah, it can be better if I was living with my girlfriend, but you know, clearly
It is.
that.
When we think about it through video games and movies, it's not how it is it? You know what? You see that movies where they're just like running through fields and stuff and like having picnics.
Well, like I know that a lot of people feel the same way because there are so many posts about is it just me or is you know, is it just that like my emotions don't work, or is it something that's happened in my upbringing? And I
Being a man, George, I think men don't speak about their emotions.
yeah, but they
Apart from
should.
on a random gaming podcast.
Well, no, but like this is like a big movement at the minute, right? With men's mental health awareness.
You know what it is as well? It's men are always afraid to fail.
Oh no, I'm happy failing, man. I don't give a
Not
shit.
afraid, but like they are always embarrassed. Like when they fail, they're embarrassed. And it causes really bad depression.
I don't think that's not ever been the reason for me. Like the way that I've always thought about it was
Like they bottle everything up as well. Like, I don't talk
any
about it.
time I've failed at something, I've learned something, and that's the way you've got to think about everything. Like, say you broke up with someone, think about why. Think about what happened, why that happened. Was it you? Was it them?
The problem is,
Especially.
I don't really fail very often. So for me,
All right, humble bragger over here. I have never failed.
no, I don't fail. But like even when I tried to fail, I end up succeeding.
Jesus.
I mean, it's like I say about masters. I pretty much did everything I could to fail that in a way, like not on purpose, but it just happened like because I wasn't motivated, and like I was sitting there playing Apex for you for like 6 hours a day, and still managed to write an essay in 2 weeks and pass with pretty high mark, like a 20,000 word essay.
Yeah, and
You know?
Alfie, I agree with what you're writing. People shouldn't be mocked or afraid because they cry. Like,
Thanks, yeah.
I think it's a lot better now than it was when we were at school. Like, people would get bullied for anything when we were at school. Like, they'd bully the autistic kid. They'd bully.
Well, it's not a lot better these days because like now it's seen, you know, that they should not be mocked or afraid to cry. But that's another thing with men. Like back in the day, like when we were growing up, if we did that, we would be mocked for it. But today, it's seen as like,
yeah, and that's shaped how we view life based on the experiences you've had. That is how people learn. People learn by experiences. So if you were bullied, you're more likely to bully, or if you were bullied and you didn't take it well, you're more likely to self-harm, even though bullies are the people that end up probably worse off most of the time. Like, that is the thing. Like, people bullied, like, there was a phase where people bullied geeks, right? And geeks ended up being
you're
the
talking
people...
about the Amazing Spider-Man 2, George, with Electro.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or the tech entrepreneurs. Like, they were all bullied because they were the smart kids, they were the nerdy kids. But you know for a fact that without them, nothing would be like it is now. And I mean, the problem with kids is that they don't think about repercussions, right? Like, I know, even today, I saw some people throwing snowballs at moving cars. Like, they clearly don't think about the repercussions. Like, somebody died, that's on them. Somebody gets injured, that's on the kids. But they wouldn't even get punished for it because the driver would be the one that had killed someone or gets killed.
I seen it on TikTok, and there's kids throwing snowballs at a bus, and they're like, try and ban us because we paid the driver. Like, doesn't make sense. Why put that on TikTok? Everyone would just call them scumbags in the chat.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the driver couldn't see the road properly, swerved, you know, could go into a bunch of shops, could run over a bunch of people, like buses.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, in particular, I know that we had a particular maths teacher, and every time we were on the bus, he'd be like, "Don't stand up, don't mess about," because what's happened before is a bus driver's crashed, and the bus driver survived, but everyone on the bus died, and the bus driver had to live with the guilt because they got distracted by somebody else. Like, and that's happened a lot of times, especially in like the Channel Tunnel and stuff, where they've like, because they've turned around because someone's standing up or pissing about or whatever, they've turned to like tell them off or whatever, and the bus driver's gone into the centre where there's a barrier and
having this conversation about buses, and Alfie and Caleb just keep stating all they want to do in life every 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, no, but like the thing is, it's good to have dreams and to be like know what you want to do, because I don't know what I want to do. Do you know what you want to do?
Well, I've got some plans, but what's gonna happen? Well,
Exactly.
no. The thing with me is like I've always like switched between things, but it's always like either art or creativeness to it. It's always been like creatively driven or creative driven.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We've both been like that, because from a young age, I've made stuff. I've painted. I've
Even
glued shit
this
to
now,
other shit.
piece of work.
This is something that will be saved for us, even if no one else ever watches it. It's something that we've done for ourselves. It's how we've always seen anything we've ever done, really. Even when we were at university, the stuff we made was for us, even though it was to...
I mean, yeah, this is not really scripted or planned, guys, because no other podcast would you go from talking about games to some like serious, deep stuff, you know what I mean? So it's like anything can happen. Just like two mates having a chat, really.
So the one thing I want to tell for everyone is
what me and John are like when we live together, we just sit there and talk about random crap for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then talk about some serious stuff.
So, I just want to tell everyone in both chats, or anyone that's watching this in future, always be yourself. Man, never change for someone or people or anything. Because it's not worth it. It's never worth it to change yourself for someone else.
And you get wiser.
No, not even. We don't get wiser. We've just lived mistakes. That's the only thing that's wise about us, is that we've learned from our mistakes.
I've never tried to be like anyone else, though. Like, I'm one of the most annoying people, but I'll still go around annoying people on purpose because that's just my personality. And if
Yes,
you
you
can't get
will.
over that's the thing. Me and George are kind of similar, though, so we kind of got on well. The first time, like I said this before, me and George went to uni together. I didn't speak to him for the first year of uni. We went on a trip. I was walking back. I had to get on the tram. Literally, next thing I was like, oh yeah, I think about moving to you next year. And the next thing you know, we was living together
Mm.
in the same flat. No one else I could have a conversation with. Next thing you know, next conversation moved in.
Exactly, Caleb. Don't change yourself to fit in. Like, yeah, you'll get bullied for it, but so what? Like, as long as you don't like comment on it or like don't give them more to go on. Like, I was bullied. I was bullied like every day for probably 5 years, but it gets to a point where you're like, yep, I do have fuzzy hair. Yep, you've pulled my hair. Yep. Like, as long as you've got a straight face, they won't go too far most of the time. Like, the problem with bullies in school, they always say they care about anti-bullying measures, but they never do. They never have done, they never will do, because it's one of the ways that schools enforce conformity. They care about your school uniform. They care about, how.
When George gets deep. Hang on, George. I don't know how we got to this one.
No, I mean,
I'm talking about school conformity.
no, but they do. That's what schools are like founded to do. They get rid of outliers. They get rid of people that might be different.
It's not that though, because a lot of bullies are the result of the parents.
Yeah, exactly. Like, a lot of the time, you can't blame the people because their upbringing is shit.
It's not even that they had a bad upbringing. It's just that like their parents were too strict, or their parents even abused them, and then they abused somebody else.
It's nature versus nurture, right? It's you learn based on what happens to you, and even like like they put on a persona to sort of protect themselves from stuff a lot of the time. Like, I know that like a lot of bullies have.
And said someone makes fun of his nan being dead. That's the line.
Yeah, no. Like,
that's kind of what sense of humor is like today. Like, I would never make a joke like that. I think it's, you go into hell if you say something like that, in my opinion. And I would never say it, but some people will.
Yeah, I
especially
mean,
to the kids, like they got such a dark sense of humor. I think everything's a laugh, but really, subjects like that, it's like a written rule that you don't touch.
But we've learned that there are lines that don't get crossed, because if you say something, you get smacked a lot of the time. And
should we do an anti-bullying podcast?
I mean, I wasn't really bullied that much, to be honest. Like, I can only say
stuff. For 5 years, George.
Yeah, but it never crossed the line, and it never.
But that's because you don't react. If you react, it gets worse.
Well, no, it's not even that. Like, the only thing they would do was,
if you react and it doesn't work.
Oh, bro, I'd nearly knock someone out. Honestly, like he used to like. So I'm gonna name. I'm not gonna name names. Sorry. I'm gonna call him Dylan because that was his name. No, I'm kidding. So he tried to hit me a lot of times, but he was like the weakest little noodle boy, and this is coming from me, who is the second weakest noodle boy. He came to school one day with a broken arm, and he tried to run me over on a bike with a broken arm. So I just kicked his wheel, and like he just fell off, and he just laid on the floor for about like 20-30 minutes, and the bus came and we just fucking left him. Like, bro, honestly, that kid was a nightmare to me. But like, so there are two ways to get rid of bullies. One, hit them. You'll get into trouble for that. Two, ignore them and just build up a mental like barrier about it. But
that's the thing. Like I've been bullied in the past, and like my mental barrier is so high.
mine is now. Like after
Close.
that,
It's come close, but no one's ever been able to push me to, be violent towards them.
well, you've seen it with me. Like I've never really got mad at anything apart from like one thing with you, and that was ended up with me throwing a sponge, because if I'd have thrown anything else, it would have hurt you, and I'd never want to hurt someone who didn't deserve it. And even people that deserve it, I don't want to hurt them, really. Like, the person that tried to run me over, I kicked him over because he was trying to hit me. Yeah, but you'd rather the first option, but then that ends up with you being a bully once you've learned that mentality, really.
God, we get onto fat shaming there. Definitely been there.
Honestly, bro, I've not been to fat shaming, but I've seen it, and it ain't cheery, folks. Never.
Yeah, things are changing now because, like, obviously body image and body positivity is all the range now. But 10 years ago,
bro, it was horrible. Like,
it's bad in kids though, because like
the horrible thing is, like, I'd do it without realizing, and then as soon as I'd realized, I'd be like, oh shit, like I've bullied someone, and like sitting on that for like 10 years now and thinking about it now, I feel
some people
shit.
say that when you say things like that, it can help you to, like, fix it, but really it could also cause internal stuff, because then you start to think, it like leaves a mental scar.
Yeah.
And then people end up with eating disorders and things. Just don't rise to it, Alfie.
I mean, it's the same with Caleb. Like, honestly, bro, it ain't worth like knocking someone out or hurting them when in the end you'll be the one that has the criminal record, or you'll be the one that gets done in at school because of it.
I've never got into fights because I've always wanted to like go to uni and be a teacher and stuff and do like a high paid job, and if you get a criminal record, you're done for. So
yeah, exactly. So even though you're young, like, you will get a criminal record. You'll end up in juvie or whatever, and it ain't worth it for somebody who has been making fun of you for like the stupidest reason, even, and it's like, maybe that's how he's trying to make a connection. Who knows? Like, it's a dick move, absolutely, but the problem is you don't know how people think, and that is a problem that we will always have. People think differently, people act differently, people are brought up differently, they will always learn different things. You will never be the same as someone else, so their mindset be like completely different to yours. Oh yeah, I know, but it's helpful, hopefully, to somebody. Like, if it helps someone get through bullying, then it's helped.
If we did this for another couple of hours, I would like start crying, man, because I don't see you get deep like that very often, George.
Yeah, but I think it does need to be said, and people don't talk about it enough, ever.
Yeah, if we can reach some people and do some good.
Like, that's all we've ever wanted to do, was to help people or to entertain people. Like, they're not mutually independent.
We actually start talking about useful things.
Yeah, it's worrying when we're doing it.
It's very worrying. Put me off guard a bit, man.
Yeah, but Caleb, the thing is, it is not worth it. It's not worth rising to their level for someone that, probably will end up beaten by someone else. They will let someone else do it for you. Like, if they're fucking with other people, they're going to get smacked one day. There's going to come a point where he's going to make a joke and someone's going to hate it and they're going to punch him. And it doesn't have to be you, is the thing. Like, that could be someone else. That could be a full-grown adult. Like, for real. If they say something wrong to someone else, like, in the real world, they will get beaten the shit up. Because there's really no repercussions if you're not found out. But in school, criminal record. In school, it will be work on your future career. It'll be, this thing that for one little word or a couple of sentences, and these motherfuckers be like knocked out in one punch or whatever, and suddenly you're the bad guy because you've now got the criminal record. You've got the the bad stuff.
People get used and taken advantage of. I mean, it's true, but everything comes back around, man. So people use you and take advantage of you. It'll come back on them at some point. You know, life's a long road, man. It'll get them at some point.
Oh, like Caleb, I completely understand, man. But honestly, never take it out on them. Take up a sport, take up a hobby, throw paint at a wall. Get your anger out in a different way that won't get you in trouble. Like, that is a reason why some people do boxing, right? Like, because they want to get their anger out against a punching bag or something. That's why people go to the gym sometimes, because they want to get their anger out in a way that is positive.
You know, because he's, you know, effectively dissing the dead. Which is, you know, it's not very good, is it? You know, like, I always think people who do that are going to go to hell, basically, so...
I mean, I don't believe in God or hell or anything, but I do believe... I don't believe
in it either, but I believe that if you say stuff like that, it's, you know, bad stuff's going to happen, because you can't just go around saying stuff like that about the dead.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is...
If you ignore people for long enough, they just stop anyway, so just ignore it. It'll actually hurt him more if you don't say anything to that. He wants a reaction out of you.
Yeah, that's all bullies will ever look for, is a reaction, because once you've done a reaction, they'll be like, this guy's a target, we can do this. And I know it's not easy because you're autistic or whatever, and it's tricky.
Yeah, so I was in the moment getting deep.
And what, your chair moved?
Something moved in my room and I was like... I'm out here trying to focus on upcoming GCSEs and I picked my options, but I can't because some people are being horrible.
Yeah, what did you pick, TJ, and why are they being horrible, man? Let us...
In life. What do you mean you can't?
Listen.
How do other people have, you know, a say in your GCSEs apart from the teachers? That's the thing. Online friends is a good thing right now, though, because most people can't go out and interact with people.
Well, as long as you've got some sort of human... Oh, yeah, I know it does, Kellen, because of your autism. Like, that's something that you're never really going to be able to control. But as long as you find an outlet for your emotions, it'll
imagine if we had a game that actually do this. IRL, green screen behind us. And it could be so professional.
Yeah, I know.
It's never going to happen, though, because God is a bully.
Come on, TJ. Fill us in with your upcoming GCSEs. We want information.
I can't handle it when George gets deep, man. I just want to tear up, so I have to say some random crap.
Why is no one letting you focus, my guy? Like, ICT, great choice. All of the world's going digital. ICT will be one of the easiest ways to get a job. Photography, also a good choice. That's a way to let your emotion...
Uncle's halfway. He's turned his life around. Yeah, that's all you need, man. Just gotta believe in yourself.
Animal care. Animal care is great. Like, there will always be a need for vets. There will never not be a need for vets. There will never not be a need for computer engineers or photographers. Like, those are three solid choices, my guy.
Your girlfriend lived with you and slept in the same bed, same room.
You're 14, my guy.
14 years old, dude. If you did, that is pretty bad, to be honest.
Now we're just waiting for information to roll through on the 30-second delay. There comes a time when you realise that you don't want a relationship with someone that's so close to you. Especially not in the early days. Like, you'll... So, I had a friend that lived around the corner, but we never became a couple because that would be weird, you know? Like, I'd known her for so long. Like, that's kind of weird, Caleb. That's worrying, to be honest.
So what's up with picking ICT then? Do ICT, man.
ICT's great. Like, digital's brilliant, my guy. Like, the people that won't let you focus are the people that will not end up well. If they're doing stuff like, what would their things be if they're not doing ICT? Like, maybe engineering, but engineering's good.
We gotta end soon because I'm getting sleepy, man.
Yeah, I know. Same. We'll do a couple more questions and then we'll be like, chill.
Maybe we'll have to do like a anti-bullying one of the weeks or something.
Maybe because it does need to be talked about, and if we're people that can talk about it, then maybe that's
maybe we're the only people that can connect with these people. Because think about it, sometimes people watching us look up to us a bit. We don't have a big audience, and when we talk about things, they listen, but they won't necessarily speak to their parents or someone IRL. So
yeah, I mean, like, Caleb, 14 is not an age for close relationships, my guy. I hate to break it to you.
I'm around that age of close relationship. Can't even make me laugh now, man.
So, like, honestly, like, I was dating since I was 13.
I'm gonna put him in place now. If Callum talks about his girlfriend one more time, I'm gonna ban him in chat. I'm gonna type.
My guy, so I dated was, I'm gonna put air quotes around this, intimate from a very young age, and it's not worth it. Legitimately, it's not worth it. It's ruined my expectations on everything, to be honest. Like, well, I was intimate at 13 with another 13-year-old, my guy, and it, why have you done this to my face at such an important juncture? It ruins everything about how you think about things for a long time. Yeah, honestly, my guy, it will ruin all of your expectations on everything. So, like, move on from that part of your life and.
Don't get it. Can ruin your expectations. George.
When I say intimate, I mean in
George?
The biblical sense.
Biblical sense. Now you've lost me.
That's what church people say.
You've lost me now, George. Did you whack her over the head of a Bible?
Yeah, that's it. Bible bashed. But
don't get over expectations.
So
you're so young, and
because I was young and it changed how I thought about things for a long time. Like, legitimately, it was a girl.
I know you buy. So
his business studies good. Honestly, my friend studied it and he works at Tesco's, so probably not.
Well, it's like I said, George, if I was exposed to that at that age, I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't be at uni because I would always have that.
Yeah, that on your mind. Exactly. Like, it's tricky to talk about in a way that won't get us demonetized. Or won't get you demonetized, I guess.
This channel get terminated because George talking about his sex life, but different ages.
Oh yeah, exactly, TJ. Like, if you're interested in it, then go for it. But it's completely up to you. You won't ever get a job based off anything. You have to put the effort in. You have to do the hard work yourself, and not just.
GCSEs you need are maths and English, basically.
I mean, even then, you only really need them for to get into university to then learn everything else.
Well, you need it for your first job.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, even then, no, you can sort of get away with not having English and maths, depending on what job you choose. It's your first job, I guess.
Right, I think before we go any deeper down the wormhole, guys, because
we should end.
Getting very deep, very personal.
And my voice is getting sorer and sorer. I'm slowly getting emotional.
Because he started off like he was.
It was the sugar high, then the sugar rush, man, and then the sugar down.
Downhill. Now it's just like I'm really melancholy, but not really. Well, it's actually the chat that spawned that. But yeah, maybe we'll do deep conversation podcasts. I don't know. These podcasts are getting even weirder. The scope of these podcasts is just 1 minute we can be doing gaming, the next minute we can be talking about different washing line brands or whatever. I don't know, and then we'll be talking about mental health. But we should definitely do a mental health awareness podcast, or maybe even a gaming stream.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get a
that.
chance to as we go on with the stuff we talk about. It'll be more and more.
We need a podcast to get bigger though, because podcast it's good though because it's quite intimate. Because we're speaking to 3 people who always watch the channel and know us, so we can have a proper chat. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up, guys, and get some sleep because I can't listen to George getting deep anymore, man. Because he doesn't do that. I'm gonna start tearing up, man.
So then, gamers, we're gonna go. See you later.
Yeah. Have a good night, guys. Get some sleep. Dream about some classic game consoles. And
later, taters. Yeah, exactly. Like.